Yo, Atlas speaking, and welcome to part 2 of What If I Was Reincarnated into My Hero Academia universe as Denki Kaminari. Let the tale begin. Chapter 21. Fear. Kaminari POV. I just wait for the others to arrive and I sit down and grab some iced tea. I can't help but think about the future. One for all, Shigaraki, and all that. If I said that I wasn't scared as hell, then I would be lying. I want to be someone who isn't influenced by fear and can think more clearly and without fear in the face of danger. But that is an unrealistic goal for the current me, and some people are naturally born without the need to fear. Back in the day, in my first life when I was scared of something, my brother was always there for me. When I was scared of darkness and told him that he spent 2 days explaining to me that the dark is just the absence of photons in the visible wavelength 400 to 700 nanometers. That is when I understood the reality and logic behind it, and well, it's silly to be afraid of the absence of photons. Ever since then I have never been afraid of the darkness. Brother wasn't afraid of anything, and that was because he knew the world around him and understood it. I don't know that. I don't even know where quirks come from and how illogical some things about it are. Like Irie's quirk, which returns a living being back in time. Like, what the hell? How is that logical at all? Something like that should normally be impossible, and that is what I am afraid of. I am afraid of something that I don't understand, so I must learn more. I am broken out of my thought process as I see Midoriya pass through the finish line. Way after me, the difference between us is undeniable. People in the stands were even kind of bored by just how unimpressive the second place is in comparison to me. So I really shouldn't waste time thinking about things that I don't understand. I must be more in reality and enjoy my life some more. In my last life, I only had a couple of girlfriends during my teenage years. I was never the most charismatic person in the room even later in life. In comparison, my brother could make 2 straight girls kiss each other within 20 minutes. He had that scary charisma and manipulation skills. He could put doubt inside even the most confident person in the world. Fuck. Why can't I be like that? Well, I am definitely going to try and be like that. I want to be like that. Maybe then I won't need to have all these doubts about the future. Doubts that suddenly all for one will escape prison and come straight for me. As everyone finishes, Midnight says that we have 15 minutes to find teammates. It doesn't take long for me to find Momo. She was in the top 5, just right after me. Midoriya, Todoroki, and Bakugo. It's pretty good because her quirk isn't speed-based. She is just that, good enough. And that will be the rest of her life too, just good enough. That is where being the 5th best gets you. At just good enough, pretty much no better than a loser. This is the difference between someone like me and her. I will never be second place at anything I do. Though I still plan to marry her and have children with her, because she is good enough. Still, even while I think that I have a smile on my face as I approach her. Yo, Momo, wanna join up? She looks a little surprised that I called out to her, and she even seems unsure for a second, but in the end, she agrees. Oh, okay. I smirk at her and just take a hold of her hand. Don't worry about the 10 million points that I have on my headband and all that. I promise you that we won't lose them. Ha ha ha. She smiles at me and nods. My brother always said that a strong man doesn't have to fear anything, and that he will act 100% sure of everything. So I am doing my best at acting 100% sure of everything I do, for I am neither strong enough nor am I sure. But that doesn't mean that I can't act like a strong man who knows everything. I see that even though she says that, Momo's body language expresses that she is still unsure of some things. Everyone here has amazing quirks, from mind control, barrier, copy quirks, and many others. They just need to get my headband and I will lose, or even if I pass into the next stage, it would suck being second place. That is just the best loser. In the end though, despite my doubts, I just smile brightly and reassure her by saying, "Don't worry, Momo. I am going to be the #1 hero. I am not going to be #1 by losing a simple high school match, ha 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 ha." As she sees my confidence and reassurance in me, she too starts trusting in me. After all, one can't have someone believe in him if he doesn't believe in himself. I look towards the stand and don't see my brother. I know that it is a hallucination, but I still want to at least have it reassure me that everything will be all right. That would help in the end, though, even I can't lie to myself for too long. So it is all up to me. I must be the best by myself in the end. Mina, Momo, and Itsuka Kendo from Class 1B joined us. I don't become the rider. I have Itsuka do that, as she can use her big hands quirk to keep people at bay. Remember the strategy. Itsuka, you keep away everyone who gets close to you. Though that is very unlikely. Also, Momo, make some roller skates for Mina too, and a rope to keep all of us together. I don't need the skates, but when I move at my top speeds, I want to be able to move you too. I keep explaining everything to them and what their roles are. Though I am confident on plan A, I am not arrogant or stupid enough to put all of my eggs in a single basket. Okay, now get ready. 3, 2. I just look around me, seeing that everyone has their eyes on me. I can't blame them. They want to level up by taking out a high-level character. Except that they are so consumed by greed or naivety that they can't see the difference between us. Then it seems like I will have to show them the difference between us. There must be no mistakes on my part. 1. Start. Immediately, as soon as she says that, the world around me slows down as I look at the people around me. I go at my top speed. I just go around by myself, stealing everyone's headbands. And I do all of that in a split-second whoosh. Suddenly everyone stops and looks at each other. I smile at them all and show the stack of headbands that I have in my hand. You are too slow. I tell them, and I see their faces covered in shock. Boom! Bakugo immediately uses explosions to propel himself towards me. Fwash! But before he is even halfway to reaching me, I am on the other side of the arena. I smirk at all of them and say, catch me if you can, fwash. Again I move at top speeds, dragging Momo and Mina along. The crowd goes wild as I gained all of the headbands. The people in the stands start cheering my name. I dodge them all for the next 5 minutes, taking on all of the quirks and either dodging them with ease or blocking them, even when Todoroki tried to freeze the whole platform on which we were standing. As soon as the ice got close, I used my electricity to break and heat the ice around me. I had Momo create a plastic sheet around the rest of my team so they don't get electrocuted. That is when I decide to roll the bandages in a ball and fwash. Throw them away towards the rushing mob of students. Immediately, like fish, they fight amongst each other. I can feel Momo's gaze as she looks at me. I just give her a side glance and smile. Now no one will chase after us anymore. Seems like plan A worked. Momo smirks back at me too. You knew this would happen all along, didn't you? Come on now, you give me too much credit. I tell her with a knowing smirk on my face. Obviously I knew. Yeah, we all did it, sarcastically says Mina as she looks at me. We totally contributed. Not like we were all just dragged around by you. Heh, someone is salty. It doesn't take long for the game to end, and no one came after us at all anymore. We in the end did hold on to the 10 million points. Now comes the time to tell the world that I am here. Chapter 22. Tournament. General POV. Mina could see that Kaminari and Momo seemed closer than usual. She felt a pang of jealousy hit her. She has had a crush on him ever since she could remember, and another girl coming and taking him away is kinda hurtful to her. But at the same time, she also noticed something strange about Kaminari. There was a hollow look inside his eyes. She has never seen him do something like this. When close to him, everyone would feel reassured. But now she feels like she doesn't know him anymore, and she feels guilty to even feel this, but she feels scared. It wasn't how he moves or talks. He still seems kind. But what is freaking her out is the atmosphere around him. Kaminari, what are you feeling right now? She wonders. Mina is the only one who has known Kaminari for such a long time, so only she can notice his slight change. And even then, she is unsure and thinks that she might have just eaten something bad to feel this way. As the battle comes to a conclusion, Kaminari goes to rest in private. That is when Mineta approaches him with an idea about having the 1A class girls in cheerleader uniforms. Kaminari usually wouldn't care to do something like this. But I should be able to do something like this and easily get away with. I must be able to do something like this too. Contemplates Kaminari. His dream to perfection is something that is just a borrowed dream. But he also wants to test the way that this will go. He wants to test himself and push himself out of his comfort zone socially.
Smon Kaminari.
The girls will listen to you. Have you seen the way that they look at you honestly? The way any girl looks at you is infuriating, but come on, please do this for me. I promise that I will owe you big for this. Pleads Mineta. He knows that Kaminari can get the girls to do it. Every girl in class has something for the guy. Kaminari just gives him a side glance and doesn't give him any confirmation or anything like that. He just walks away with a smile on his face. A couple of minutes later, he finds the group of 1A class girls and calls out to them.
Yo.
Girls, Aizawa. Sensei said that the girls can wear a cheerleader outfit and every girl from the other classrooms will be doing the same as the battles will be soon announced. Kaminari POV. Really? Asks Momo as I tell her that. I just shrug and answer her by saying, that is what they told me at least. She nods at this, not asking any more questions as she knows that I would never lie about something like this. Well, she thinks she knows she doesn't know that I have lied to her around 50% of the time we have spoken together. Well, when someone has a good reputation, he can do a lot of things and get away with it freely. Anyway, just because he said that you don't have to wear revealing cheerleading outfits if you feel uncomfortable, I tell them that to reassure them. The girls, though, still seem unsure of it. I then just wave at them and smile as I walk away. Anyway, see you later. With that finished, I just go towards where the other students are, and as the break is over we go to the arena to draw lots, but we are interrupted by Present Mike loudly announcing, "Whoa, it seems like Class 1A has gone full-on fan service." As he says that, I just look at the 1A girls staring at me with death glares. I look around confused, and when I see that no one else is wearing cheerleader outfits, my face just pales and I point at my Neta. He told me that Aizawa said so. I really should have known better. My Neta doesn't even notice me putting all of the blame on him, as he just looks at the girls with a dazed look and a blush on his face. Yep, and he wonders why he isn't popular. I have an apologetic look on my face and clasp my hands in a silent apology and mouth out to them a sorry. In the end, we pick the lots, and it seems like I will have to fight first. My opponent is the guy with the mind control quirk. Shinsu is his name, and so the first fight comes about. And the first battle is against the mysterious Hitoshi Shinso, and the lightning boy Kaminari. Denki Shinso looks at this annoyed and whispers under his breath, "What's up with the difference in introduction between us? Even the mysterious part was like you were asking a question." I smile politely at him and say,
Yo.
"Shinso, right? Let's have a good fight."
Begin.
Announces Present Mike, without even counting down. This seems like a habit of his. Shinso just asks me, "What was your name again?" Even though I know what he plans to do, with a smile on my face I answer him, "My name is Kaminari Denki." Immediately I can feel my body go out of my control. It feels like a dream where I can't control my body and I start moving to turn around, but immediately, bzzzt, I use electricity in my hand, and I don't use my quirk on protecting it, and actually, I skillfully hit my nerves, and with pinpoint precision that has been honed during the over a decade that I have spent training my quirk. In the end, an unimaginable amount of pain assaults my hand, as if molten lava has been poured in the inside of my arm. But though the pain lasts for less of a second, it wakes me up and I get out of Shinso's control and look at him with a smile still on my face. I see that he has a shocked look on his face. In the end, I just told him, "Your quirk is truly amazing and you will be on the top 10 of the hero spectrum, though this quirk is best kept a secret and the fewer people know about it the better it is, so hope we can work together in the future. Having someone like you having my back will make me more comfortable." Fwash. Though he can hear my words, I don't let him comprehend them yet as I appear next to him and run a small electric shock to the back of his neck, harmlessly knocking him out. I truly did mean that he is going to become an amazing hero. Though he should deal with his inferiority complex of his, it is tying him down. He thinks that his quirk isn't good for a hero job. He must get that thought off his head. I can see that he wants to be a pro hero, but he is still limiting himself needlessly. Anyway, I shouldn't be the one talking about snubbing others' feelings of inferiority when I have my own. Fuck. He continued to cast a shadow over me even after his death. When I was in my first world, and it followed me all the way here, damn. I really need to get rid of these thoughts. But I am afraid that if I start getting rid of them, I will stop wanting to become the best. I can't deny that my first life was very successful because of these thoughts. I am just an imitation of him. I will never be him. I am charismatic but not as good as him. I am smart but nowhere near as him. I am manipulative but not as good as him. Honestly, I can't find a single thing in which I triumph over him. The shadow he cast was way too big. I sometimes wonder, Did I ruin the life of my new family by acting like him? I wonder if those close to me grieved when I died? After having those thoughts, I went back to the Class 1A booth, and Ijiro congratulates me. That was amazing, Kaminari. As expected of you, you finished it super fast. I smirk. It wasn't as easy as it looked. When he hears me say that he is confused, but in the end, I won't elaborate on it, so he knows not to ask. But Deku, on the other hand, still writes something in his little notebook. You know, if a villain got their hands on that, it would be beyond dangerous. The second match is Tape Guy, Zero, versus Todoroki. The latter seemed aggravated at the start of the fight, so I wasn't at all surprised when he uses way too much power and encases Zero in ice, for which he apologizes later on. The third fight is Midoriya against Mei, the girl from the support department who previously was in his team. Deku almost loses, because he was stupid enough to wear some equipment she gave him from before the match. He has to use one for all twice, destroying 2 of his fingers, just so he can defeat her by knocking her out of the ring with a wind blast. The fourth fight is Ibara Shiozaki, quirk, can manipulate her vine-like hair, against Illida. Sadly, her quirk is used as field control and Illida was defeated eventually. The fight lasted around 20 minutes and in the end, Illida's engine overheated, and he started to slow down as he failed to defeat her by using his finishing final attack. She then just grabbed him with her vine-like hair and threw him out of the ring. The next 2 matches go in a flash in comparison as Mina is against Yuga, quirk, belly button laser. On the other hand, in the fight of Momo versus Fumikage, though unlike canon, this fight goes on differently as Momo has spent a lot of time with me and her thinking process has majorly changed. She uses her quirk to create a flash grenade. After that, Fumikage was easily defeated. Chapter 23, Kaminari versus Todoroki. The battle between Ochako against Bakuga happens, and Bakugu wins the fight. Next, it is me against Todoroki. I am currently in the bathrooms washing my face as they fix the ring due to the destruction caused by Bakugu and Ochako's battle. When the door opens, I just give a side glance to the man who entered. It is Endeavor, the man who would be to jail if his crimes were reported. His wife didn't just decide to burn off the side of the face of her own son who resembled him. The marriage was most likely arranged, so she didn't have a choice. And how did she have so many children with him if she hated him that much? Did he force himself on her? Did he rape her? Now, even if he didn't do that, the only thing needed is for the question to be brought up, and that's it. His hero career is bye. He wouldn't be worrying about beating All Might anymore. He should instead be more worried about not dropping the soap in prison, with some people in there who he himself put in there. But that doesn't matter as I hear him stand next to me and say, "I want you to not go easy on Shoto." I don't like the way he says it, like he is ordering me. I look at him in the eyes for a couple of seconds and walk away. I don't need you to tell me what to do. Number 2 I just close the door as I walk away. I can hear him writhe in anger when I tell him that. But it doesn't matter. He is number 2 and will always be so even if All Might retires. Everyone will forever remember him as number 2, and I think he realizes that. But there is nothing he can do about it. When I arrive at the new fixed stage and look at Todoroki, who is in front of me, we both have calm looks on our faces. I don't say anything and neither does he. I know that talking to him now would be useless. Whether he uses the fire half of his quirk, that doesn't matter at all to me. "Begin," announces Present Mike, and immediately Todoroki sends a huge wave of ice towards me. He knows better than to go too easy on me, but he isn't using his fire side, so he definitely won't win well even if he uses it. The chances of him winning against me are still minuscule. I still have my hands in my pockets as the ice gets close to me.
C'était boom.
Immediately, the ice is destroyed, and as soon as it gets within a range of 5 meters close to me, it will be destroyed. An automatic defense system has been set around me. As soon as something enters my 5-meter dome, it will be hit by lightning. It hits too fast, and it works more on an instinctual level than a controllable. It is the perfect defense for me. Snap! I take one of my hands out of my pocket and snap my fingers at Todoroki. BZZT, a huge lightning bolt is discharged from my hand, and Todoroki has to create a huge ice wall to protect himself. But still, as the lightning impacts it, it easily breaks through it, and he has to use his ice again to stop himself from being pushed away out of the ring by the shockwave. I just look at him, and with a calm look on my face and say, "Weak." I don't even really need to use my quirk to fight you. I guess you will not amount to anything better than a stepping stone to me. I just charge at him. I really don't need to use my quirk in combat mode to be able to defeat him. I can see that his body is half frozen, and he seems to be moving slower. Todoroki tries to hit me with some type of ice pillars. I easily dodge them all. I am only using my quirk to slow down the time around by making my brain process information at a faster speed. I slip under one of the pillars and I kick off the ground. I get close to him, and he tries to lump back, but I just attack him from his fire side since that is his weak side. Bomb. I punch him in the stomach, and as I do so I yell at him. You dumbass. You think you can compete with me just by using 50% of your power? Well, I will tell you something. You can't even make me use my quirk by not going all out. People can't tell that I am using my quirk when I speed up my thought process. He winces a little at my punch, and I can see that he tries to use his hand from his ice side to shoot some ice at me, but I simply use my legs and kick the hand upwards. I hit the wrist with my full power, so crack. I can hear the wrist dislocate, and Todoroki winces at this, but he doesn't even have time to react as I karate chop him in the throat. Pow. Cough. He can't breathe properly at that, so I decide to use my palm and hit him in the chest, targeting his lungs, which have little oxygen on them now. Pow. As I do so, Todoroki seems like he wants to use his ice quirk with his foot, but I simply run some electricity at his foot, hitting his nerves, breaking his concentration for a split second, and that is all I need as I jump back, and due to the lack of oxygen going to his brain, Todoroki's eyes roll on the back of his head. I frown at this. It seems like I couldn't make him use his fire part of the quirk, but I still defeated him, even while limiting myself. I am someone who fights with Kirishima in hand-to-hand combat. Todoroki might have a good quirk, but his close-quarter combat abilities have much left to be desired, meaning that he is pretty much done once someone gets close to him. Now if he had fire, it would be a whole different deal. I turn around as I hear the crowd cheer at me, but suddenly they stop and I can feel the heat behind me. I turn around and look at Todoroki. A tornado of fire surrounds him as his hair flies upward. I smile at this. Ready for round 2? He smiles back at me with a thankful look in his eyes. Yes, I am. Whoosh. A giant beam of fire comes towards me and I smile as electricity dances around me and my hair floats upwards with static electricity. I use my speed to move straight through the fire. The fire can't burn me as I move too fast for it to even touch me. I appear close to him, but I can feel a cold feeling appear around and to me as the ice comes towards me, protecting Todoroki. I have to jump back to not be frozen. My smile widens even more as my hair seems to itself fuse with the electricity I am discharging, and it seems like my hair lengthened. Bzzzt. The world around me completely comes to a halt as I move at such speeds that for a split second the whole world around me turns white. Even my sped-up brain can't keep up with my top speed. Fwash. And before anyone could react, I was grabbing Todoroki by his throat, and instinctively his body started using ice to push me away, but I just ran some electricity through his body, knocking him out. Whoa! Yells Present Mike in excitement, and he then announces, "This was an amazing fight, folk. The winner is Kaminari Denki." I just dropped Todoroki on the ground and raised my fist high on victory. Chapter 24, Sports Festival. After the whole battle with Todoroki, who was sent to the hospital, he didn't have any critical injuries or anything of the sort. I didn't try to injure him heavily. That would be a waste of potential. I went easy on him. I could have killed him in the first shot, but he isn't a villain. In the future, I am never going easy on villains. That is the advantage that villains have against heroes. I am not strong enough. Or more correctly, I will never be that strong to go easy on them. In my opinion, all criminals should be killed. Letting them live is bad for society. Of course, the public does not need to know of the deaths. Sure, some villains might not be completely irredeemable, but I am willing to sacrifice them for the greater good. Only a stupid man wouldn't sacrifice the few for the many. All for One should have been killed at that time when we captured him. So no matter what, he wouldn't be let out as a danger, and Shigaraki would have died if that One for All just wasn't alive at that one time. Also, most people definitely wouldn't become villains if they knew that only death is waiting for them if they do something stupid. Anyway, that doesn't matter to me. I guess that would be considered a freedom restriction. Honestly, If I was in charge, no villain would see the cell of prison, and neither will they see some type of fancy execution. Something like just a bullet to the head is way more efficient. But in the end, what do I know about complicated politics and how they do things? America in this world has the villain execution law that if they do anything too bad, then they are executed. But they also allow villains to sue the shit out of heroes for excessive force and such. Also in that place, you need a hero license in a state if you want to do hero work. So another state hero can't just come and interfere. But that is probably the reason why All for One never went to America or other countries like Russia, China, and such. They all have the hero execution law and nukes. So if he was captured there, they would instantly execute him. Plus, at the end of the day, unless All for One teleports away, a nuke can do wonders to him. It will incinerate him. These are powerful countries, and any developed country probably has government personnel with quirks that can concentrate the power of a nuke to not have widespread damage. But still, every country has its own shit going on. They ain't any better than each other. If villains didn't exist, they would probably start trying these weapons on each other. Heh, there are always two sides to a coin. Villains are trash, but even trash has its uses in society. They keep us busy so we don't get bored, because if we did, the political range of this world is just as complicated as the previous ones. They all have different cultures and concepts on morals, but in the end, we are all human. So a weakness in us is inevitable. Even someone like All for One has that. I am interrupted out of my thought process as the next fight is announced. It was Mina versus Momo, both girls who seem to have a crush on me. Or more correctly, they have a crush on the person that they think I am. Their perception of me and the real me are completely different. Momo wins the fight by using her creative ability to create a stun gun. Honestly, Momo has started using her ability very smartly. Also, her knowledge has risen, and she doesn't just look for such simple things to create, and she solves bigger problems by separating them into smaller ones. Her whole thinking process changed, and it made her more effective in using her quirk. The next fight was Kirishima versus Bakugo. I wonder how this one will go. General POV Kirishima and Bakugo looked at each other from the opposite sides of the field. He can resist my explosions, but he should get tired after trying to keep up that hardening all over his body for quite some time. Contemplate Bakugo. Though he has a scowl on his face, his mind is working fully calm and logically. He is used to having his body full of anger and still thinks calmly. Plus, this anger helps him sweat more, which strengthens his quirk even more. Kirishima, on the other hand, had a smile on his face. Though he and Bakugo were friends, he would never go easy on him. And he actually can't go easy because he can't keep this hardening for too long anymore. He has been using it during the exam a lot. I must wait for the perfect moment and take Bakugo off guard.
Begin,
announces present Mike. Immediately, Kirishima rushed Bakugo, and the latter charges an explosion in his palm. Boom! It hits Kirishima in his abdomen, but he doesn't even flinch at all and keeps attacking Bakugo. A small scratch appears on Bakugo's cheek as the edge of Kirishima's nails touch him. Immediately, Bakugo goes on the defensive. Seems like Bakugo has gone on the defensive in his fight, announces present Mike, his voice full of excitement. And that is when Bakugo takes the initiative. Boom! And strikes Kirishima in the abdomen again. This time, Kirishima winces as his defense got weaker. Bakugo sees this and smiles slightly.
D!
Yells Bakugo as he charges up a huge explosion, and due to the movement by dodging Kirishima's attacks, he had enough sweat gathered up. Boom! The explosion engulfs Kirishima, and Bakugo assumes that his victory is in his pocket, but suddenly out of nowhere Kirishima, which now looks like a monstrous figure, charges at Bakugo. Red Riot Unbreakable. As he gets close to a surprised Bakugo who is about to ignite his hands in an explosion to blast him away from Kirishima's range, but he can't do so as the latter grabs onto his wrist and punches forward. Red Ganchurito, bomb. The punch hits Bakugo in the stomach, and it feels as if he was hit by a truck and immediately passes out. The winner is Ijiro Kirishima. Present Mike announces, and the crowd roars in excitement, as at the end Kirishima looks scary but at the same time cool to everyone. His training with Kaminari before he came to school has allowed him to defeat Bakugo, and Tetsu cheers for Kirishima in victory too. Next comes Ibara versus Midoriya, and the latter can win with only having to break one finger, which creates a shockwave big enough to knock Ibra out of the ring, even though she used her vine-like hair as a way to try and defend herself. Then the fight against Momo versus Kirishima comes. Momo wins that by creating a cannon and pointing it at Kirishima. The latter immediately gives up. He is already out of stamina to fight against someone like Momo, who just has to eat sweets and junk food to charge up her quirk. After that whole ordeal, the next fight is Midoriya Izuku versus Denki Kaminari. Midoriya Povi can't stop my shaking even while walking to the ring. I can see the relaxed posture of Kaminari. He seems uninterested in anything around him. He doesn't even see me as a threat, and I can't exactly blame him about it. His speed dwarfs mine. Also, so does his intelligence. His power, technique, endurance, stamina, confidence, and everything that I can think of. He does it better than me. I have wondered countless times about this, and I have concluded that if All Might knew of someone like Kaminari, then he would have given him One for All. I can already feel the burden of not being able to live up to the potential of One for All. I am supposed to be the next symbol of peace, but I am unsure if I can do it. On the other hand, Kaminari is 100% sure of his success, and he walks confidently with a smile on his face all of the time. As we are in the ring, he just waves at the crowd with seemingly no anxiety. Then he looks at me and smiles. Do your best, Midoriya. Yeah, you too, Kaminari-san. As I say that to him, he just nods.
Begin.
Announces present mic. For a split second, startling me as it brings me out of my thoughts. BZZZ. The current running through my body is the last thing I felt as everything went dark. General Pyovi Kaminari just looks at Deku as he falls on the ground unconscious. If One for All wasn't so creepy, he would have tried to get it. But he knows better than having another intelligent being inside of himself. His brother taught him better. They used to joke about anime things like this back in the day. Still, even he can see that Deku truly is one of the, if not the worst users of One for All. Miria would have truly been the best candidate, and he would have trumped over Midoriya easily. In the end, Kaminari just raises his hand in victory. All Might, skeleton form, looks at this scene with a nervous look on his face, and he uses his hands to cover his face. Chapter 25. The Fight. After that fight, in the end, Momo gave up her match against Kaminari, saying that at the moment she isn't even an opponent to him. Midoriya and Kirishima were supposed to compete for third place, but since Deku was unconscious, Kirishima gets third place automatically. In the end, the top three were 1 SD place, Kaminari Denki second place, Yaoyorozu Momo third place. Ijiro Kirishima. The crowd roars and cheers while Kaminari stands on the number 1 podium. Momo seems a little embarrassed. Kirishima seems a little nervous too. He thinks that he only got here due to luck, because if he fought Todoroki he would have lost, which is true. In the end, Kaminari seems in his natural element as he waves at the crowd with a mesmerizing smile on his face. When Momo sees Kaminari like this, she blushes slightly, but she just looks away. Momo couldn't help but bashfully think, he is so cool when he acts like that. Kaminari has a strange charisma to him that draws people in. Like a magnet, his friendly and willing to help attitude puts him in everyone's good books. Midnight comes to the stage at this time and says out loud, "Ladies and gentlemen, the medals this time will be given by that man." Ha 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 ha. Everyone immediately recognizes that as All Might's laugh. The man who will announce the medals is, "I am here." All Might. Midnight and All Might interrupt each other while they speak. Midnight looks at All Might with an apologetic look on her face. She says, "Oh, sorry about talking over you." All Might doesn't say anything as he just looks at her with a smile on his face. They had revised this 3 times before the festival, and she still messed it up. In the end, he just takes a bronze medal and gives it to Kirishima. "You did well, young Kirishima. You showed everyone that even with a quirk that might not seem amazing, you were very cool out there." As All Might says that, he gives Kirishima a thumbs up and his teeth glint. Next, he goes to Momo and gives her the silver medal while saying, "You young Momo are a student who has shown excellence in every aspect. I do not doubt that one day you will make a remarkable hero." Finally, he has the gold medal on his hands with the number 1 on it. All Might's smile widens a little as he looks at Kaminari. Kaminari smiles back at All Might and says, "All Might, don't worry. I will be the next symbol of peace." Kaminari doesn't say anything like he will surpass All Might, since that would only make him sound arrogant in some of the hardcore All Might fans. He knows that there are a lot of them, of different ages and genders. But as Kaminari says that he will be the next symbol of peace, the crowd hears it too due to the microphone All Might was wearing. Immediately, everything goes quiet. Even Midoriya has a cringing look as he hears Kaminari say that. Everyone is curious about what he will be saying next. Kaminari, accidentally, put All Might on the spot. So in the end, All Might says, "I see. I will be waiting for you, young Kaminari." The crowd immediately cheers loudly by saying that All Might pretty much just told everyone that he will wait for Kaminari to take his place. In a way, this makes Kaminari All Might's successor. As he hears this, tears flow out of Midoriya's eyes. Bakugo, who had an angry look on his face, is a little surprised at why Deku is crying. On the other hand, the rest of the first-year UA students look at this with shocked looks. To them, this seems as if they are witnessing a historic moment itself. Afterward, All Might gives a speech to everyone, saying that everyone who participated in the sports festival had a chance to stand on the podium and that the future generation of heroes looks bright. All Might yells out, "Great work," to everyone, congratulating them for their efforts. With that, UA's sports festival comes to an end. After that, the students were told that there would be a 2-day break. Kaminari just walks back to his house together with Mina and Kirishima. As he enters his home, he sees that it is empty like always. No one to greet him here, no one to talk to him. Though he doesn't mind the loneliness, he does wish that he had someone waiting for him. "I kinda wish my second life parents were alive. That would make things easier. This place is lonely as hell." He goes to the fridge and drinks his protein shakes and eats his daily intake of calories and vegetables. He has a super healthy lifestyle, as he wants his body to always be able to keep up with his quirk. He sits down in the completely dark living room. No light is on. He doesn't care to turn it on. "I wonder how strong I am now compared to All for One," contemplates Kaminari. He knows that even though he is fast and strong, he knows that All for One with his combination of quirks is monstrous. "I wonder what should I do?" His mind instinctively immediately goes towards his sibling every time he is unsure of something. Fuck, I need to stop this thought process. Again, a whisper echoes in the back of his head with the voice of a familiar someone. Kaminari's eyes widen at this, as he can feel his heart almost beating out of his chest as it beats like an engine ringing in his ears. Damn it. I am going crazy. I am hearing shit. Cold sweat is excreted from his body. He can feel adrenaline run through his veins. His body is unnaturally going into a fight or flight mode. But Kaminari knows that this is needless, as he can already sense that no one is around him, and even if someone teleported or something like that, he would know. What is going on with me lately? Did I get hit by some illusion quirk? Why am I so unusually jumpy? Well, I have never been in such a dangerous situation in my past life. Honestly, a straight-out fight would be better. The unknown of when they will attack me makes me nervous. They could attack me right now. They could stop me with an illusion quirk for a split second, and All for One just comes out and casually steals my quirk. Contemplates Kaminari, as he has to take deep breaths to calm down. He has never had something like this happen. His body is instinctively reacting to his uncertainty. I never predicted that I would be such a mess in the face of adversity. Fuck. I am such a coward. I don't have that hunger for power. I want power, that is true, but I don't have that psychotic hunger for it, one which would sacrifice a child for it. I could never look an innocent child in the eye and kill them for power. Kaminari takes a deep breath and can't help but contemplate if he is developing some mental problems due to his stress. I should relax during these 2 days. I haven't rested for many years. I must calm down and relax a little, as it has started becoming detrimental to me. Don't worry, little brother. You have me here, forever protecting you, thinks Kaminari, but his thoughts seem foreign. His mind lies to itself, making it seem like his own brother speaks on his mind. Fuck. I am actually going crazy here. He looks around the house, every shadow having the chance of it being Kurogiri. His rational mind leads on a route of itself, and suddenly, he smirks. His back straightens, his frightened posture changes into a confident one. He seemed completely fearless. How silly, to be afraid of the dark. It's just a lack of photons. It's just so silly, he says smiling, as if he is a whole different person. 2 days pass and Kaminari spends it relaxing and sleeping. He played video games and watched TV runs of different shows. I should see if One Piece is finished in this world. Though his problem seems to have become bigger. The whispers inside his head have become louder and seem to talk clearer here. Kaminari tried talking to them out of curiosity and questions. Really? One Piece? I never saw the end of it. Kaminari can't help but smirk a little. Are you like the devil in the shoulder who entices me to be lazy or something? The voice whispers again in a joking voice. You need to say no homo if you say that. Kaminari chuckles a little at that. I should give you a name then. Since I have a mental problem, I should and make it useful to me. Even the image of you created inside my head is a dick, says Kaminari as he puts on his UA uniform. Kaminari takes a remote route to UA as he puts on his face mask. Social distancing is a must, in case COVID comes to this world. Thinks Kaminari jokingly. 6 feet away, or about average dateable male height. Also, you should try growing your hair like a hentai protagonist's. Chapter 26. Hero Name. After that, Kaminari communicates with the voice inside his head as he walks towards UA Academy. Along the way, he simply dodges crowded places and just walks casually towards UA. He knows what is going on with him. He read up on the internet. The sweet age of information is around. Currently, he is in the beginning stages of second personality creation. Honestly, he is in the middle about this. He could have that guy exercise, do chores, study, take written exams and such. But then the part where he could possibly take over comes. I will have to destroy it. That is the conclusion Kaminari comes up to instantly. He knows why his second personality appeared. He just has to overcome and destroy those things. It seems like I must let go of some things, and do so quickly. In the end, due to him wearing a face mask, no one recognized him as he walked to school. As he walks along the hallway to his classroom, he sees that his classmates seem to all be talking about how they got recognized from the sports festival. To Kaminari, this was unimportant as he greeted everyone nicely. Good morning, everyone. As he says that goes and takes his seat, Kirishima is the one to ask him. Kaminari, what about you? I bet that you got recognized a lot due to being in the first place. Kaminari smiles at this smugly. No, not really. I went to buy groceries during the 2-day break and saw that people recognized me. So I went through Sanju district to come to the academy. That way not a lot of people recognized me, especially since I was wearing a face mask. As Kaminari says that, everyone whines at that, because while it is nice in the beginning to be recognized in the streets, it gets annoying real fast. He is stronger, more creative, and even smarter than everyone in the class. He can easily solve math problems that baffle me. Contemplates Momo as she remembers that one time where Kaminari explained to her some homework by using chat snap to communicate with her. He is the guy who never studies, but still takes first place in every exam. Kaminari seems to feel her gaze on him, so he just turns around and smiles at her. This gesture makes Momo blush a little as she too waves back at him. What about you, Momo? Did anyone recognize you? Asks Kaminari as he starts getting closer to Momo. But before Momo can answer, the classroom door is opened once again, and it is Aizawa. This makes all of the students go back to their seats. Mornin'. Greets Aizawa as he enters the classroom. He then goes to his desk and puts down some documents and he says, Today we will be choosing your hero name. Yeah. The whole rowdy part of the classroom screams out in joy. How awesome. This will be our time to shine. Yells out Kirishima, his voice full of joy. He thought that Aizawa might decide to have a surprise quiz or something like that. Aizawa still in the end just explains as the students go quiet as they see his hair going up and his eyes turn into a scary red. Anyway, after this there will be kind of like an internship. The pro heroes saw you all in action during the sports festival, so they will mostly choose based on that. Also, they can cancel the internship at any time if they see that you don't have what it takes or something like that. So in a way, by summing it up, one can say that they are simply showing an interest in your futures. Many students whisper between each other, discussing what these alternatives mean. In the end, Aizawa just shows the polls while saying, usually these things are more spread out, but you know, What the poll shows is that Kaminari has over 7,735 requests, while in second place was Todoroki with around 3632, then comes Momo with 1456, Bakugo has 1273, after that comes Kirishima with 987. After that, everyone else has small numbers in comparison. Some had none, like Midoriya had 0. Well, it's not like heroes aren't willing to try training him. It's just that since Deku gets injured way too much by using his quirk, no one wants to take responsibility for that. The students start discussing amongst themselves again, but Aizawa ends that short by saying, "No matter if you were chosen or not, in the future, you will get to still work with a pro." After that, Aizawa just goes on his futon and starts sleeping while midnight comes into the room. Everyone chooses their names while Kaminari still contemplates a little. Lightning Rod, Lightning Killer, Lightning Murderer, Lightning Storm, or just Storm, suggests the voice inside his head. Those are all shitty names. Also, 2 of them sound like villain names. Definitely an evil second personality, getting rid of you as fast as I can, says Kaminari in his mind. In the end, Kaminari picks the one that he has already chosen. He also already made sure that this name wasn't already chosen. As Kaminari comes to the stand, he sees his whole classroom look at him as he shows them his whiteboard with his name written on it. Flash, you fucking stole that from a comic and it's not at all original. But I will give you points for not showing what your power is in your hero name. Can't you just give an honest compliment instead of going the roundabout way of doing it? Huh. Well, I am sorry that you need a compliment to prove your self-worth, and that you feel that your existence can only be justified by other people and their opinions. Kaminari just internally sighs at this. His developing second personality is like his brother, fearless, and completely assholish. Midnight looks at his name and smiles. Very good, nice and catchy. After that, everyone gets their hero uniforms in a suitcase. And for people who had over 1,000 requests, the students are given a slip of paper with the top agencies amongst them. As Kaminari glances amongst them, he can't help it as his eyes wander towards the female heroes. And that is when immediately the whisper comes back, and this time it has a very deadly serious voice. If you choose a female hero just because of their looks, then you will increase your chances of dying a very gruesome death at the hands of a hero. This is not a joke. You are not playing at being a hero here. This is not a game. You will die. Due to the deadly tone to his voice the whisper talked, it pulled Kaminari out of his thoughts, and in the end, he talks back to the whisper inside his head. I wasn't gonna do that. It would be dumb and I know it. I am not some thirsty virgin about this. The whisper doesn't say anything at this, and Kaminari just looks at the paper in his hand, and there is one agency that catches his eye and that it would be useful. Later on in the day, Kaminari takes the train to go to his agency, and he is in front of a big 5-story building. He takes a deep breath as he goes in. As he knocks on the door, he can't help but contemplate that this was the right choice for him. Yeah? Who is this? Says someone as the door is opened. The one who opened it is a fairly well-built young woman with a rather slim build, her skin light blue. She has short, ruffled dark blue hair that curves upwards and downwards around her head, parted to her left, and wide yellow eyes with thick eyelashes. Also, she is wearing her hero costume consisting of a skin-tight dark blue crop top with a white high-collared section, a zipper down the middle, over the higher part of her chest, which reveals her torso from the underside of her breasts. She wears black tights with loose white shorts, 2 yellow markings down either side of them, and thick white boots with lines running down their shafts, yellow rings in the center of them. Over her entire face, she wears a transparent visor with an air filter on each side, and on her hands, she wears plain, dark blue gloves. Chapter 27. Your Future. As Kaminari sees the girl in front of him, he has a soft smile on his face as he asks, "Is this Nighteye's agency?" The blue-skinned girl nods at that. "Yep, so you must be Kaminari then? No wonder you looked familiar. Also yes, Nighteye is currently waiting for you in his office. I will show you the way." As Kaminari hears that, he nods and starts following Bubble Girl. Lead the way. They walk towards the personal office of Nighteye. The girl couldn't help but ask Kaminari different questions about himself. Kaminari, of course, politely gave her complex answers that told nothing. The girl noticed that she has been a hero for quite some time. She can tell when someone isn't giving her anything about himself, Plus, Nighteye makes sure that his sidekicks can tell when someone is playing them. But she still continues to ask him some questions while Kaminari answered all of them. They then arrive at an office with a sign which reads, Nighteye. Bubble Girl opens the door for Kaminari and whispers to him, "Good luck, Kaminari, Kuin." "Thanks, I hope that I make a good impression too," answers Kaminari, and as he does so, he can hear the whisper in his head scold him. "She already figured out that you were bullshitting her. You need to be better at this." "Shut up, I already noticed that." Kaminari coldly disciplines his personality. "Don't talk unless I ask you to." The voice seems like it wants to say something, but Kaminari just thinks about shocking his brain to stop the voice. Then the voice stops. As he enters Nighteye's office, he sees that the office is simple and it only has a bookshelf on the corner, a desk with a laptop on it. That is where Nighteye is sitting. And there are a lot of All Might posters and figurines around. A lot of them were even limited edition. Nighteye is wearing a gray suit with glasses. He has yellow eyes, with green hair with some strands of yellow too. He is currently wearing a light gray suit. Kaminari waves slightly at him, and with a smile on his face says, "Well, hello there, sir. My name is Denki Kaminari. A pleasure to meet you." Nighteye looks at Kaminari in the eyes, and he gets up from his desk and gives Kaminari a handshake. "Nice to meet you too, Kaminari. I must say that you were impressive during your sports festival." Though Kaminari heard that, he sees that Nighteye still has a serious expression on his face. He is unsure what the man is truly thinking, so he asks the whisper,
Oi.
"Do you have any idea what he seems to really think of me?" "Yeah, he is thinking of how you will impress him and—" But Kaminari interrupts it. "As expected, you only know as much as I do. Useless. You are supposed to represent what I think is strong. But you are useless. Acting powerful without anything to back it up is called arrogance." Kaminari has a polite smile on his face as he reasons. "It might have seemed impressive from an outside perspective, sir, but it was only due to the advantages that I won. I also don't plan to stagnate, as some of my classmates might catch up if I do something like that. So I hope that you will be able to help me become a better hero, Sir Nighteye." Nighteye smirks slightly at this. "I see. Then I will help you to the best of my abilities." Kaminari nods at this. "So what should I do first, sir?" Nighteye pushes his glasses up. "We will spar first. I will show you a manner flaw that I saw during your fights at the sports festival." "Major flaw?" wonders Kaminari. He obviously isn't arrogant enough to think that he has no flaws in his fighting style, but a major one? "Okay, we will start immediately. Attack me, Kaminari, Kuin. I will show you your flaws, and we will work together to fix them," declares Nighteye. To Kaminari, he is moderately polite, unlike when during canon he met Midoriya during the canon timeline. Still, as soon as Nighteye declares that, Kaminari goes on full attack. His body is covered in lightning, and his reaction time becomes lightning fast. He charges towards Nighteye and sees that the man somehow dodges. He knows that Nighteye can look into the future, but Kaminari knows that with his speed that is useless. So even as Nighteye dodges him, he just changes direction slightly and attacks Nighteye. He sees that Nighteye can't dodge anymore, but suddenly the floor shifts slightly and it causes Kaminari to stumble. But he easily regains his footing and jumps up, using the ceiling as a foothold. He then pushes off the ceiling and charges towards Nighteye, but by this time Nighteye has a gun in his hand and shoots at Kaminari as he is midair. Kaminari couldn't dodge this due to being midair, and the bullet was quite fast too, but at the same time, he knows that the bullet will be destroyed by the electricity as soon as it gets close to his body. But contrary to his expectations, the bullet explodes and turns into a thin net. Kaminari concentrates his lightning into his hand and cuts through the net easily. Nighteye has already started jumping back to dodge Kaminari as soon as he shot the net. "You can cut through the net with electricity," advises the whisper, with its usual teasing tone gone. Kaminari doesn't follow the advice of the whisper. Instead, he grabs the net and throws it at Nighteye, while at the same time he holds tightly from the other side. As soon as the other side touches Nighteye, Kaminari sends a slight current of electricity, just enough to jolt Nighteye a little. Nighteye, on the other hand, is completely surprised as he feels the shock run through his body. "What? I didn't see this future? How is that possible?" Kaminari turns off his lightning mode and his hair falls downwards again as he lands on the ground. He looks at Nighteye and smiles a little as he sees the man's surprised look. Nighteye has the right to be surprised. Never once in his life has a prediction of his been wrong. This kid, he changed it. The future was supposed to go with Kaminari directly charging at Nighteye after cutting his net. Then Nighteye would this time throw a rubbery restrictive substance from the same gun that threw the net, and Kaminari's feet would be stuck to the floor. The lesson being that Kaminari relies too much on a foothold to exert his power. If he is midair, he isn't even half as strong as he is on ground. His power relies completely on his speed. That was supposed to be the lesson, but that is useless now as Kaminari sent the small electric shock through the net, pretty much saying that he could have sent more voltage and completely paralyzed Nighteye, or even knocked him out easily. This kid can change the future. If so, then hope appears in Nighteye's heart. So he couldn't help but get close to Kaminari and touch his forehead with his finger. His quirk activates fully as he looks into Kaminari's future. Chapter 28. Newbie Hero. Nighteye looks at Denki as his eyes widen a little in surprise. But he calms down once again and says with a calm voice, Kaminari, Kurin, you have amazing potential, but I have seen your future. As he says that, Kaminari can easily see that it was something bad. Once Nighteye saw that Kaminari could change the future, he was relieved, having hoped to save All Might from that gruesome death of his. But, so what was it? Asks Kaminari, his voice and face calm. There is no use panicking over something like that. Plus, even the whisper inside of him was being quiet, due to being modeled after his older brother. If he is in danger, even the second personality would cooperate. I think that you should leave your hero career behind, or else you will die a brutalizing death by the hands of a villain within a year or two, says Nighteye as he looks at Kaminari with a worried look on his face. He knows that his visions will always come true. When he sees it, it's like it's set in stone and ready to happen. I will also like to drop you from my agency now. I won't take any responsibility for your life anymore. Kaminari is about to refute that, but before he can do so, the whisper says to him, if that is true, then you must leave the hero life. As the whisper said that, its voice becomes colder as it speaks along, and the voice starts resembling his brother's even more. It almost feels like his brother is just behind him and speaking clearly. Don't worry, you know that someone like Irie, if she gets involved, then the prediction could change easily. Reasons Kaminari. Don't fuck around. This is your life we are talking about. You think that you will somehow miraculously survive if you are in a sticky situation. No, you don't. So start being realistic. Don't take chances on something like this. The whisper, for the first time ever, is actually mad. Even Denki is startled by it as his brother's uncanny voice says that. He also knows that this is something his brother would say too. He knows that taking risks like this isn't the best of ideas, but if he at the same time follows what his brother told him, then he would just have to retire and live the rest of his life thinking of what could have been. Brother, it's my life, and you will waste it. That is when Kaminari did something strange that he hasn't done in this life. Stand up to his brother.
No.
You listen, brother. If I leave now, I know that I will regret it. I will always think of what could have been. Then what? I'll just live a miserable life, withering away and wasting my second chance at life. But if you play your cards right, immortal, I don't care about immortality. I lived my first life, and I was miserable as I grew old. You and Mom dying before me. You always said that you were going to die before me. That will be your final selfish act. But you died at 18, brothers, and I still lived decades after your death, trying to be what you would have become. I was never able to reach it, and I died full of regrets. I won't make the same mistake again. Concludes Kaminari. He wasn't asking for permission from the voice. He is simply informing his brother of his decision. I see. It seems like I won't be needed anymore. Then suddenly the whisper disappeared from his head. Just like that. The lingering presence was though it was no longer there. Kaminari is still contemplating that this truly might have been a hallucination all along. Simply a coping mechanism. But now he is decisive enough to make his own decisions. To Nighteye, it seemed like Denki was standing still for a couple of minutes contemplating his decision. But in the end, Denki only breathes out a sigh of relief before smiling at Nighteye brightly. Ha 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 ha, don't worry about such useless things, Nighteye. We are all going to die one day, whether sooner or later, it doesn't matter. So I will stay a hero. Kaminari turns around to walk out of the door. Nighteye looks at Kaminari's back and in the end, only sighs at this. I see. Then I guess that L can't let you walk out now. It would just leave a bad taste in my mouth if I did that. Kaminari suddenly turns around and has a shocked look on his face. So, you are at Sundra? Immediately as Kaminari says that a vein pops up in Night-Eye's forehead. He is annoyed at Kaminari and says, "What did you say, you brat? I will kick you out of the agency if I hear one more rude word from you." Kaminari snickers slightly at this and says, Sure. Night-Eye, on the other hand, interlocks his hands and leans them on the table, trying to hide his smile. Tomorrow comes around, and Kaminari officially starts his internship. Kaminari POV. I arrive at Nighteye's agency. I am a little worried on the inside. After all, I never expressed on the outside what I am thinking on the inside. But I haven't heard the Whisper's voice since yesterday. I even called him out, but he didn't answer. Well, I guess it was a mental hallucination after all. I just overcame my problem, I guess. Well, I have resolved my thoughts on the matter. It doesn't matter if I die while chasing my goal. I obviously won't seek death. That would be counterproductive. But I am no longer scared of death. Brother was always scared of death. He was too burdened with it, and I knew it. Heh, I guess I am better than him at some things. I am fully in my blue costume, which looks a lot like Superman's except the whole red underwear on the outside. That would be kinda lame, and weird to wear for real. Also, I am not hiding my face with my hero costume, but I use a slight electric static and my hair is flowing upward like some Super Saiyan. Centipede and Bubble Girl meet me in the hallway and Bubble Girl says, Are you nervous about your first ever patrol? A little. I answer her truthfully. After all, some Nomu might decide to attack me. I am a little worried about that. I did fight the Nomu during the USJ, so that might have AFO pay attention to me and seek me out to steal my quirk or something like that. The patrol is simple. We just greet people and take photos with some kids. Quite a bit of people recognize me from the sports festival, so I even gave a couple of autographs. Aw, help me. I was pulled out of my thoughts as a person yelled out loud. It seemed to be a female voice. I immediately used my lightning mode and went after the scream. When I arrived there, I just saw a man with the upper body of a crab and the lower body of a human robbing a woman. I just appear behind the man and clasped the back of his head. BZZZZT. I instantly knocked him out. Chapter 29. The Flash. What Kaminari did would usually be considered illegal since he doesn't have a hero's license. But now this was all within his right as he was in his hero costume, and technically under the supervision of a hero. He looks at the smoking half-crab man on the ground. Weak. Also, he looks weird as hell. Ponders Kaminari, his mind wandering a little as Bubble Girl reprimands him for walking in a situation like that recklessly. Sorry, my body just moved on its own, says Kaminari uncomfortably. Obviously, it was a lie. He isn't the hero type at all. His body would run away from a dangerous situation, rather than approach it. Bubble Girl was about to criticize him some more, but she stopped once she heard that. Sigh, okay, but don't do this anymore, or I will have to report it to Nighteye next time, says Bubble Girl. I will need to keep an eye on him, or he might get hurt during all this. Then the cops come and arrest the half-crab man. They offer the woman to come and testify against the man, but she says that she won't testify against her husband, so this was a domestic abuse case. In the end, she just got a protection order from the police against her husband and then left to do her job as an exotic dancer. Once Kaminari heard this, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. Just a small incident like this, and the story behind it is complicated. Not everything is as black and white as it seems. 2 days later, and Kaminari gains a lot of experience during his patrols. First, he learned that everything isn't as simple as it seemed, and second, not everything can be solved by beating it up. He did a lot of minor things, like helping a cat get off a tree, help a lost kid find his parents, and many other things like that. Of course, every time Kaminari did a heroic act, it was accompanied by a dramatic entrance and a memorable goodbye. He and Bubble Girl have also built a good enough partnership. He buys her mochi, and she doesn't report his little hero moments to Nighteye. Not that he did anything that he shouldn't do. It's just the embarrassing moments. Currently, he and Bubble Girl are in Nighteye's office. The man stares down at both of them with a hard look and says, "Okay, recently we have had a shortage of patrol heroes in Hosu due to a certain new villain dubbed as the Hero Killer." Kaminari immediately guesses where this is going. He wanted to avoid something like this at all costs, but it seemed like it was impossible for him if he wanted to keep walking down his hero career. But on the outside, he still kept a calm look on his face. Nighteye, on the other hand, noticed Kaminari's slight shift, but he dismissed it as Kaminari thinking about the future that he had told him about. The one where Kaminari will be brutally killed by a villain. Hopefully, the League of Villains doesn't target me specifically, or that would suck. Complains Kaminari internally. He has changed the timeline a little too much to be comfortable, but he still will be prepared for any challenge they might throw at him. Also, he has a bunch of hidden cards. He would like to see how they work against the villains now. Now, I want you both to be careful and not enter a dark alleyway or something like it, without at least 5 to 10 other heroes backing you up. Warns Nighteye. Am I understood? Both Kaminari and Bubble Girl nod at that. This is a little too dangerous in Kaminari's opinion, but no one else knows that Hosu will be flooded with Nomus soon enough. "Oh, Kaminari," calls out Nighteye. Kaminari turns around confused. Nighteye smiles slightly and turns his laptop around. There are countless emails stacked up. They were all thank you emails from the people Kaminari helped during these days. "I have gotten nothing but supportive emails from the people you have helped. Some even asked for some fan t-shirts and merchandise to be made after you. Keep up the good work." Kaminari is surprised at that, but in the end, he nods with a smile on his face. Later on, as the night comes about, both Kaminari and Bubble Girl are in their hero costumes and currently riding a train to Hosu. "Have you thought about some new cool entrances?" asks Bubble Girl amusingly. Kaminari looks at her. He has his hero costume on, which is like a Superman costume, except without the red underwear, and on his chest, there is a lightning bolt instead of the S sign. "Hey, Bubble Girl, don't say it like that. You make it sound like I look lame in those," complains Kaminari with mock embarrassment. Bubble Girl chuckles a little at that. "But it's true though, especially when you do it in the bathroom mirrors. I get secondhand embarrassed just from looking at them." Kaminari's face pales at that, and he grabs Bubble Girl's hand. She looks at him questionably. "If you are about to confess your feelings about me, then the answer is no. I am not interested." Huh. Kaminari is confused by that on the outside. "Never mind that. What I am concerned about is you not telling anyone about me doing that in the bathroom. Buy me some mochi, and you have yourself a deal," says Bubble Girl as a smirk appears on her face. Kaminari is not impressed by this and says, "Some hero you are, blackmailing an underage child." Heh. Bubble Girl snorts at that. "Way to overplay things. So what about you then, Bubble Girl? Did you find any boyfriend already, or did you get rejected once again?" says Kaminari mischievously. He can see Bubble Girl flinch as if she was hit with a cannonball. I haven't had the time recently to do that," stutters Bubble Girl in nervousness and embarrassment. Heh. Kaminari gets a mischievous smile on his face. He then starts whispering words that would make Bubble Girl get a metaphorical arrow to the heart. "No boyfriend, lonely forever. Will dial-BOM." Suddenly an explosion rockets the train and Kaminari looks out of the train's window and sees Hosu in chaos. Immediately he turns to Bubble Girl, who is also serious now. "Permission to use my quirk and lethal force if necessary?" asks Kaminari. "Permission denied," says Bubble Girl, surprising Kaminari as he turns and stares at her. "Why?" he asks with a tone to his voice that wouldn't allow Bubble Girl to avoid the question. "Take me with you. Only then will you get permission to use both lethal force and your quirk if necessary," says Bubble Girl, her expression very serious at this. Kaminari frowns slightly, as she will only be dead weight to him. But in the end, he just sighs and turns his back at her. "Climb on top." She climbs piggyback and lightning crackles around Kaminari, slightly shocking Bubble Girl. BZZZZZT. Kaminari and Bubble Girl both disappear in a flash. Chapter 30. Playing. Kaminari moves at top speeds around Hosu, his eyes moving around while trying to figure out where everyone and everything is. He isn't concentrated on finding the hero killer or Ida or anything like that. After all, even if he defeats the Darrow killer, he won't be able to take credit for it because it is unlikely to be public. As Kaminari is running, he sees a school bus being attacked by a Nomu. Immediately, he lets Bubble Girl land on the ground as he runs towards the Nomu. He can see that this Nomu can't even follow his movements, unlike the one during USJ. He casually just pulls the children first, and then he kicks the Nomu on the back of its head. Bam! The creature's head is smashed on the ground and cracks appear on the pavement due to it. From others' perspective, this all happened in the blink of an eye. Kaminari then looks at the kids and gives them a confident smile and a thumbs up. Everything is gonna be all right now. For I am here in a flash. The kids look scared as they point behind Kaminari. There are two Nomus behind him. With a smile still on his face, Kaminari turns around and grabs the Nomu's head with his hands. Bomb! And plummets them on the ground. He turns to the kids and does a thumbs up once again. Well then, children, if you are ever in danger, simply yell out my name, E, and I will be there in a flash. BZZZZT. He grabbed Bubble Girl once more. After all, he can't use his quirk without a supervisor nearby. That is a law, and it can't be altered for only him. It doesn't take long for Kaminari to find another Nomu terrorizing some other people. It seemed like he was terrorizing some college girls. Kaminari drops Bubble Girl once more and then grabs the Nomu by the side of the head and bangs them on the wall. Bam! It wasn't really the hit that did the true damage. It was Kaminari frying all of the Nomu's brains. He is doing this because he knows what they are and what they would do. Kaminari then looks around and sees the young girls scared. He approaches them and he sees that they seem scared. So he smiles and reassuringly says, "Hello there. My name is Flash and I am a hero. Are any of you hurt or in need of medical help?" The girls shake their heads and Kaminari smiles. "I see, then that is good. Call the police and they will come to take care of it." BZZZT. He disappears once again and garbs Bubble Girl, immediately running towards the next people he should rescue. Next to save is an old woman. Kaminari drops Bubble Girl and he sees that the Nomu is about to hit her. But he intervenes and cuts off the Nomu's arm. Crack. But suddenly he sees that some debris is about to fall on the old woman. He also understands that if he goes to help her, then he will most likely be really struck by the big debris himself. If he goes at his top speeds, he might be able to make it, but he would crash into the old woman and kill her. For a split second, he truly speculates to go and help the old woman. But at that split second, he understands just how dumb that would be on his part. He would be giving his life for someone else, something he wouldn't like to do. But he still acts like he is going to as he moves at speeds just enough to avoid the rubble. Boom. The rubble crashes on the ground, and the blood of the old woman sprays on Kaminari's face. "No!" yells Kaminari as he falls on his knees. This reaction, even he isn't sure if he is faking it. He did just let someone die after all. And the thoughts on his head weren't exactly pain-ridden. They were coldly logical. Even he wonders if he likes those thoughts. That is how Kaminari spends the rest of the night, helping people and being seen as much as he could. He also made it seem easy by the ways he was taking out Nomus. Of course, some accidents happen and Kaminari couldn't save everyone. But he wasn't bothered by that at all after some time. After all, it was better for some random people dying than him. At least that is what he thought to console himself. He did let someone's sister, mother, grandmother, and parent die. That is the truth of the situation, and he can't deny the truth. Still, though he had a moderate state of mind, he appeared to me more absent-minded around others to sell the whole thing. People immediately assumed that seeing innocent people die had shocked Kaminari. He was currently outside of the office of some police officers when a woman with a bunny tail and ears walked in. She was still in her hero costume. He immediately recognized the woman. She is Miruko No. 6 hero. She suddenly stops and looks at Kaminari. "Yo there, kid. What ya doing?" asks Miruko. Kaminari povas. "I looked at Mirko. I couldn't help but contemplate that I would like to do with her for a one-night stand. Though I know that our difference in age and Mirko's personality, that is unlikely to ever happen. I can't help it but decide to play as prey against her. So I look at my hands, clench them in a fist, and sigh. Mirko, in our point 7 hero, I must say, did they bring you here to cheer me up? Her face winces slightly as I say that. Guess that is bullseye then. In the end, I get up and walk past her. Don't worry, I am okay. I saved a lot of people today. I go to the water dispenser and pick up a plastic cup from the side and see that my hand is actually still shaking as I fill the cup with water. Damn, I am not even faking this one. I guess I am still in shock. Well, it is logical, with so many unpredictable deaths happening around me. I truly understood just how fragile humans are. I feel a hand on my shoulder and Mirko's voice. It's okay, you can't save everyone. No one is perfect. I don't say anything at that, but suddenly I feel a tug behind me and Miruko hugs me, bringing my face to her chest. Huh. I hear her slightly surprised voice as this happens. She probably expected me to be embarrassed or something. I just straighten up and see that she is shorter than me even though she is standing on the tips of her fingers. I put my arm around her waist and bring her body closer to mine and use my other hand to clasp her chin. Immediately I can see that she is embarrassed. I don't let her analyze the situation as I bring her lips closer to mine. I lean down and kiss her cheek. That is how you embarrass someone, I tell her, and as if on cue she blushes heavily. I clasp her cheek as I lean backward and with a sweet smile on my face say, I love you, Mirko. She is left in shock and I continue saying, and that is how you deal a critical hit. I then start walking away with a smile on my face. I am all calmed down now. I leave Mirko behind and at the corner I see Bubble Girl looking at me with a frown on her face. I smile and wave at her and get closer to her. Are you some super playboy or something? She asks me, and I just smile and wink.
No.
I read it from a manga. I say as I touch her shoulder. The playful smile still on my face, but she doesn't seem to be affected by it at all now. Wow, that makes the whole situation lame now, exclaims Bubble Girl. Bah-ha-ha-ha-ha. I can't help it as I laugh at that. Chapter 31. Race. The internship week passes and everyone is back in school. They all talk about the experiences that they had, and I also make up some shit. Honestly, talking to their experiences is kinda boring, especially when Shoto isn't even saying what really happened and there is a video on Tubu about the whole stain incident, and also a video of his last statement before he was caught. So you truly didn't do anything too exciting then? Asks Momo as she looks at me with a curious look. Unlike Canon, this time she wasn't under the celebrity hero, the one which would be useless to remember. She was under the dragon hero, Ryukyu. I believe she currently is the number 13 hero. Yeah, I went in Nighteye's office. Quite nice in there and learned a lot of things from it. I tell her as I lean down and smile. I can see Mina looking at me with a strange look in her eyes that makes me feel awkward. I guess one exciting thing did happen, but I can't exactly talk about it. I say to Momo, and she nods at this, understanding the boundaries. Some things just can't be said in public. I will probably tell her if we go on a date once more. I will tell her about my trauma of being unable to save people and such. Also, it seems like her parents aren't around a lot. So once we get into a relationship, I must isolate her from her friends, parents, and such. After that, she will be only mine. I will be the shoulder to cry on, and I will be her pillar. Because she will have nothing else to rely on, parents can be troublesome. If I do something bad, then they will convince about what is better for her. I know how these things go. Parents always stuff their nose in their children's situation. Well, I wouldn't be a father like me too. I just let my kids do whatever the hell they wanted later in their life. But by then they didn't even talk to me. Wow, really? Exclaims Mina out of nowhere, breaking me out of my thoughts. I can see it that by the look on her face, she has nothing to contribute to the conversation and only wants to interrupt mine and Momo's conversation. But in the end, I smile at her politely and nod in confirmation. Yep, it was honestly a little scary, but that is all I can say about it. We continue that conversation about what we learned during our internships. That is when we hear that Shoto, Ida, and Midoriya were involved with the hero killer. Mineta asks some questions, but Shoto answers by saying that Endeavor saved them. Which to me it's obvious what happened, because I know from the story, I am not the best detective around to figure things out with so little information. I come through the door like a hero. Comes All Might's declaration as he opens the door. Like always, he startles me a little by doing that. Follow me to playing ground gamma. Fwash. And he blasts off. Oh, I also forgot. He startles me again as he returns. Don't forget to wear your hero uniforms. Fwash. He then runs off again. Honestly, the way he talks so loudly at the beginning of each of his sentences is a way to make people pay attention to him and express dominance. While he does that intentionally or instinctively is kinda unknown. Some people train to do it, and some are born with it. To me, that is a useless thing, as I never wanted to be in a leadership position. Though I did know a guy who was sparingly good of raising his voice in a situation to make everyone listen to him. But leadership positions are troublesome. Over 90% of CEOs suffer from depression. I do not want any of that. But I guess in this world, I will have to be a little loud. After that, we put on our hero costumes and I look at Momo. Damn, she is really developing well. She will definitely be something else when she grows up. I can't wait for that. By then all the little mind games I have been playing on her would have been worth it. As we arrive at the racing grounds, we are split into teams of 5. Also, Ground Gamma seems to be a construction site with many densely packed lanes which makes it look like a labyrinth. In my group are the Tail Guy, Momo, Midoriya, Zero, Duct Tape Guy, and me. Quite a nice matchup to show who is the number one here. Start, announced All Might, his voice coming from one of the many microphones on this ground. Immediately I enter. My body surpasses its limits. It actually casually breaks through them. The others can't even move as I start running. I don't go full out as my vision starts blurring, and even my enhanced eyesight can keep up with it. Something strange about moving at such speeds as I do is that it feels like the laws of physics don't even affect you. I casually walk sideways in one of the pipes. I truly love this thing. Moving fast like this is amazing to me. It never gets old. It is a showing of the effort I put in this move. Of course, I win the race, and after some praises from All Might, I settle down and smile a little at Momo's executed wave. After that class came to Aizawa with his homeroom class. He seems to be annoyed about someone. And as he enters the class, like usual, he counts how long it took all of us to get to our seats. 2 seconds. You are getting better, is all Aizawa says, and it's as close as we will get to a compliment. The guy just can't give one. Honestly, I am glad he is a hero because, with his erasure quirk, he would be able to easily beat the likes of All Might and even me. He is also a hard counter against All for One. He can cancel his quirk and the ones that he had stolen. Now how do I get him to be at the fighting during the battle against All Might and All for One? It would honestly probably keep All Might in business even after the fight. But as far as I am aware, I also know that the villains know about Aizawa's quirk, so they definitely would do something to keep him at bay. All Might being kept in the game a little longer would make everything easier. He is like a cheat code in an RPG game. He will one-shot all of the future villains. From Overhaul and all those other shit stains, at least Nighteye wouldn't die by then. I need to put as many cards on my side now. It's no longer about canon. Fuck canon. I must keep a blanket of heroes around me as I grow into the number 1 spot. All of the dangerous situations I will be in need to be controlled. That is the only safe way to play this game. I might need to get a little involved with the other side of the board, but it doesn't matter. Kaminari, you did well in your internship, says Aizawa, suddenly pulling me off my thoughts. I nod at him, and he goes through some other students, congratulating and mostly criticizing them. Just like this, time flies fastly by and the end of June comes about. The midterm exams, and I didn't study for it at all. I was a college student in my last life. High school math is like playing games to me. Though I did place 3rd in overall score, well, I might have forgotten some things from college. But I was only behind Momo and Ida. That kind of annoyed me a little, so I will put more effort into the next one and try to get the best score within the class. Chapter 32, Baiting. As the final week of June comes around, I spend it training my physical body. It doesn't matter that I am only 3rd in grades against some prepubescent high school children. Fuck, that annoyed me. I ain't some fucking loser to get beaten by them. I am currently in my living room doing some push-ups. I can see a puddle of sweat below me. I just need to do some more push-ups and my arm will give out. Though I think all of this my mind still goes to another place. Damn it. I hate this. I know why I placed in third place because I didn't study at all for midterm exams or anything like that. I only revised when I was walking towards UA. This definitely sucks beyond measure. I mean, some 15-year-old kids beat me in junior high school level subjects. I still am not studying that much, mostly when I am in the bathroom. I want to be the best at everything and always be number one. But I know just how useless grades like this are. I do crazy calculations constantly in order to learn how to manage my ability. But that is where the problem comes. I am forgetting some things from my past life. Not things essential to me, like physics and math, but things like language arts and some other things. I must be number one in these things, but at the same time they are all useless. I will forget them once I become an official hero anyway. This sucks. From what I remember, the next will be the teacher versus student trials. I wonder who they will put me against. Obviously, they will put me against a teacher that is a counter against me. So that means either All Might or Aizawa. Only those two amongst the teachers can really defeat me. All Might because he can beat me in raw power. Aizawa can use his quirk to disable mine, and I am pretty much a normal person with a better physique than normal. But Aizawa will outclass me in all of their two: technique, intelligence, fighting experience, martial arts, and due to being a trained adult he beats me in natural physical strength too. His items will help him easily win a fight against me. I see. Then Aizawa will be the one most likely to be put against me. But with whom will I be in a team? Momo? Todoroki, or someone else completely? This will definitely be quite important to me because I know clearly just how strong I have pushed my quirk to be, and I know my weakness is the best. Sadly, there isn't a lot I can do for most of them, and I am already improving on the ones that I can. What terrifies me is that I can't improve, and this is as good as I will get. I know that this is nowhere near enough. Those endgame powers, I am nothing against them. I will be surpassed by Midoriya and Shigaraki if I become stagnant and am satisfied with just what I have. One way to go about this is to improve my equipment and my hero suit. I know just how much of a difference that can make. But at the same time, I don't know what to improve on. I have the defense for my suit mainly down. I honestly just added some knives in hidden places in the suit. When I asked for this suit, my only requirement was that it doesn't hinder my quirk. My quirk is easy to disrupt by something like a suit. I didn't want any metal plates or any rubber to cover my suit because both would weaken my quirk usage. Weapons are okay though. I need to think of some more moves, some things like the railgun that I developed. That is a very lethal move and my trump card that I don't plan to use it too much. After all, it's pretty much my only hidden trump card. I look at the clock and see that it's almost midnight. So I sigh and get up. I need to take a shower and go to sleep now. I must get my 7+ hours of sleep a day at least. I usually get 8 hours, but I have been unable to get those these last couple of days, so I had to tire my body before going to sleep. The next day comes quickly next week, and I immediately open my eyes minutes before the alarm rings. This is my internal alarm at work. I see that it is a little over 7 in the morning. By 8, I have to be at UA. Well, it doesn't matter. I always arrive early, by a couple of minutes. I pick up my phone and see that in the 1A group class on AppWhat's that there are 18 new messages. I read through them, and it's pretty much Momo creating a new study group for the people who have had some difficulty. I decided to join in and type on the group.
Kaminari, yo.
Good morning, I will join too. I will help you, Momo. And I also need some help myself. Ha 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 ha. After writing that, I get up, put on the school uniform, brush my teeth, wash my face, and set off for UA. As I arrive, I see Mina running along. She has a toast of bread in her mouth as she runs. I just look at her and say,
Oi.
No need to rush, Mina. We are not going to be late. She stops and looks at me. Her chest goes up and down as she breathes heavily. Oh, thank God. I thought I was going to be late. Aizawa would chew off my head if that were the case. I laugh at that lightly. I always tell you to not stay till 2 a.m. You must get a healthy dose of 8 hours a day of sleep. That is the key to keeping a healthy body and mind. Mina just looks at me as I say that. She bites on her toast bread. Okay, so she is zoning me out. I flicked her forehead and berate her. Mina, listen to me. You are worrying me about this. Unhealthy habits like this can continue into adult life too. Do you want me to worry about you even when we are grown up? She blushes a little as I say that. Well, she is most likely thinking about marriage now that I talked about me worrying about her even during adulthood. Well, I did imply it a little. Though I plan to marry Momo, a little secret affair at the side wouldn't hurt anyone, except Momo if she finds out. But she won't, because I will just be doing my hero duties till late at night. Marriage is boring, and after 10 years, fucking the same woman gets boring. Or maybe not. It wouldn't be good to be like I was in my past life, uncaring for those around me. I had multiple wives because of this problem. Better keep it chill this time. Use my head, not my dick, to do the thinking. Still, that decision is too far in the future. After all, I am still a virgin, in this body at least. But details like that don't matter at all. I see that Mina is still absent-minded and act like I don't know about what it is as I flick her forehead again. See, you are daydreaming because of the lack of sleep. Sigh. I sigh and pat her in the head. I worry for you, Mina, so please take care of yourself. Chapter 33, Genius. As we arrive at the classroom, I go towards Momo to talk to her. Everyone in their seats. Comes Aizawa's nonchalant voice. I only sigh and wave at Momo as I go to my seat. In a week, the end-of-term exams will come about. Remember to study, says Aizawa, completely in his usual voice. The lessons go by quickly, and except for Midnight's very over-sexualized teaching methods, nothing interesting happens during class. Honestly, it feels more like my previous world high school now. Except for some special classes, the other ones are boring. I would rather spend this time training. But since I can't, I spend most of it contemplating ideas on how to use my quirk better. Still, lunchtime finally comes around, and Momo, Mina, Tape Guy, Tail Guy, and Jairu. I really should start remembering my classmates' names, especially since I am the class president. Still, we are all sitting at the table when Momo starts by saying, "Okay, the teacher said that we must learn trigonometry, derivatives." Momo continues speaking about what the teacher told us to learn. Damn, she really is serious about this stuff. Also, after thinking about it for a little bit, I remembered the names of my two male classmates sitting at the table, Ojiro and Siro. Now I must make sure to not forget them. Damn, that will be hard. They are just so forgettable, both physically and appearance-wise. Lunch ended, and Momo was still explaining to us what we had to learn. Damn, I guess she really is studious. No wonder I was placed behind her during midterms. Later on, we arrived at Momo's mansion, and everyone else except me looked surprised. I just walk forward and press the bell button, while everyone else is shocked by Momo's wealth. Just like so, the week of studying passes. I look at the results of the written exam and sigh. First place, but it doesn't feel like an accomplishment at all. I spent way too much time studying for this. I don't even dare dream of being strong or good enough at using my quirk just by laying around. I might be slightly faster as an old, injured, and weakened All Might. So what? I am not gonna let myself be surpassed by Izuku, especially as he starts using the other quirks stored into One for All. Power isn't something that is given to me by doing nothing like Deku was. All Might could have found better users of All for One if he had just looked at other people. But I guess he saw himself in the quirkless Izuku. Expecting All Might to be smart and make the perfect decision all the time is unrealistic. He is only human after all. But Mirio with that power would have been a way better and truly terrifying choice. No one would be able to hit him as long as he can hold his breath, and with his new floating quirk, he could have flown even while having permanation quirk on. Just that combination would make him absolutely terrifying. Then combine it with all the others plus his strong body, and you have a way more terrifying All Might. I mean, even now I don't think I can beat Mirio. He can turn on his quirk, and as long as he predicts my attacks, he would be able to beat me. Because even my instinct field wouldn't be able to sense Mirio and his punch if he was using his quirk. Damn, he is a really good counter against me. His quirk literally nulls most advantages I have against him. But at least I can run away from him if push comes to shove. And in a type of worst-case scenario where All for One steals Mirio's quirk. In the end, though, it is unlikely for such a situation to happen, because if it does, I am beyond fucked. Finally, we meet the teachers for the practical exam. I know that from the rumors going around that it will be robots like the entrance exam. But that isn't necessarily true this year. After all, not every year does the school. We will be having fights against teachers, says the raccoon principal. Or is he a rat? Honestly, I don't know most of the time what he even classifies as. Still, in the end, I listen to the teachers to explain things to me. I end up on the same team with Todoroki, both of us against Aizawa. A terrible matchup, against us that is. Momo could create things, and after the process of creation, Aizawa could use his quirk on her, but it wouldn't destroy her already created items. But for me and Todoroki, that is a different scenario. He just looks at us, and we become mediocre fighters at best, as mine and his fighting styles are concentrated around our quirks. Currently, both me and Todoroki are inside a city. He looks at me and asks, "What is your plan, Kaminari?" I give him a side glance at this. I guess he trusts me enough to make a plan. No, it's not trust in me. It is more like his trust in my skills. I guess finally being the best at everything in the class finally paid off. Todoroki POV. As I ask Kaminari that question, I see him contemplate it. Though I hate to admit it, he is good. I don't doubt that he can come up with a great plan. I mustn't let my pride decide my future. I learned at least this much when he beat me in the sports festival. I won't be able to become #1 if I don't give it my all. Ah, got it, exclaims Kaminari suddenly. He then gets close to me and whispers quietly, "I will use my body as a shield from his vision. You shoot ice or flames at him." As expected of Kaminari, he found a weakness in Aizawa's quirk within seconds. He then looks around and looks through the windows of the houses around us. We were in an urban neighborhood. "Tisich, there are no covers around us," says Kaminari, once again saying something truly wise. If he had a blanket, that would also stop Aizawa's quirk. I can't help it as I look at him with a slightly amazed look on my face. He is impressive. I have my work cut out for me if I want to compete with someone like him. His quirk is strong and he is smart. He would be dangerous even without his quirk, but with it, he is terrifying. I don't think there are any students and neither most of the teachers who can beat him. I can count on one hand the teachers who would stand a chance against him. Kaminari closes his eyes and touches the small earplug in his ear. He frowns and whispers to me, "Careful, he is around here. I heard footsteps." Okay. I tell him and try to create a small fire on my palm, but I can't. We are already in his range. Kaminari nods at this. Fwash. Suddenly bandage-looking accessories come towards us. Kaminari does a backflip and jumps off a wall, dodging Aizawa's bandage things. I tried to jump back too, but suddenly I felt something grab into my ankle and I looked down. Shit, he already grabbed onto me. Chapter 34. Annoying green hair. Momo looks at the screen in front of her, and it shows Todoroki being grabbed by Aizawa's bandage-like weapons. Kaminari, on the other hand, has a calm look on his face as he jumps backward, but he still can't use his quirk as Aizawa is looking at him. But as he looks at Kaminari, Todoroki can now use his quirk, but before he can even do so, pow! Aizawa punches him on his chin, having Todoroki's brain hit the inside of his skull, and it knocks him out. "One down," says Aizawa as he jumps towards Kaminari, who winces at this. Aizawa is the worst possible opponent for him to fight. The man pretty much takes away his quirk, but Kaminari also knows that as soon as the man blinks, he will have a chance to attack him by using his quirk. But during that time, he mustn't be mid-air, or he is pretty much useless anyway. Kaminari trusts Aizawa as a hero enough to have taken some countermeasures against him. So in the end, he takes out a knife from one of his hidden pockets in his hero costume. Aizawa uses his binding cloth to try and capture Kaminari now that he is midair. Bzzzt. For one split second, Kaminari was able to use his quirk, so he used it by releasing a large amount of electricity, hoping to capture Aizawa. He has a calm look on his and uses his bandages to dispel the electricity that comes towards him. But he also makes sure to have his eyes glued to Kaminari as his feet land on the ground. Unexpectedly, instead of running away so he can hopefully get out of Aizawa's vision, Kaminari twirls his knife in a reverse grip and charges at his teacher. Aizawa smiles. This kid. He is something else. He knew that if he turned his back to me he would have lost, so he chose to charge me. Unlike others who would be nervous after losing their quirks, he is completely calm. Denki gets close to him, dodging all of Aizawa's attacks with his restricting clothes. Once he is an arm's length away from Kaminari Pov as I swing my knife at Aizawa. He has a calm look and I feel the cloth wrap all around me. Damn, seems like I got caught. Still, I have a calm look on my face and wait for the right moment, not giving anything away. Aizawa goes to punch me, but I bite the inside of my cheek till it draws blood and spit it towards his eyes. But even at such close range, he is able to dodge my attack. Smart, is all he says. I can see that it's his way of saying that I did good and we were simply a bad matchup. But I have to use all of the power in my body to move while half restricted by the metal wire cloth. I stab my hand and blood spurts from it like a river, and I swing towards his eyes, splashing blood in them. Come on now, I can't lose here at something like this. Todoroki was useless to me, so now I must do my best and win this by myself. BZZZT, that is when time slows down for me and I understand that I can now use my quirk. I use my lightning to rip through this metal cloth and attack Aizawa immediately. Electricity travels through his body as I grasp his face and notice that he was wearing rubber gloves and a robber bodysuit under his clothes. The man falls on the ground, knocked out, and I fall on my back on the ground, wincing slightly as I see my bleeding hand, and I take out a bandage from one of the hidden pockets in my suit and bandage it up. General POV Momo looks at Kaminari through the monitor and can't help but admire his willpower. He stabbed his hand without a second thought, just to win this test. An unknown feeling settles down on her heart as she sees that. Later, Kaminari returns to the monitor room and looks at Momo. A calm look on his face as he mentions for her to come closer. I need something. HM? What would he need me for? Contemplates Momo, but she still decides to follow him and look at the next fight. Suddenly, as they are both outside out of their classmates' view, Momo feels herself be pushed against the wall. Kaminari kisses her, and she can feel the aftertaste and the metallic taste of blood in his mouth, his knee pushing between her legs. Before she can even understand what happened, Kaminari separates the kiss and smiles at her. Momo feels a tingle run down her spine as she sees this. Her face flushed, her mind in shambles, and she felt like a defenseless girl in front of Kaminari. Sorry, I couldn't stop myself, is all he says as he starts walking away. See you tomorrow, Momo. Later on, Momo and Mina are on the same team on the practical exam, and due to Momo not being concentrated on the exam, she and Mina both fail the exam. Kaminari POV. I lie down on the medical bed thinking about the kiss I shared with Momo. I had to make a move. She was never going to make a move at the pace she was going. Even when I have given her enough clues and such, she is too naive to understand them. So I had to make the move myself and take charge. Well, I don't mind. I know that she likes me, so there isn't anything to be nervous about on my part. Still, now that I have made the first move, I can't stop now and act like I am not interested, or it will give the wrong message. I was planning for her to make the first move, that way I wouldn't have to work too hard, but it seems like that won't be it. Sigh, this is so troublesome. I say out loud. Huh. I hear Izuku's confused voice come from the bed next to me. I honestly don't pay that much attention to him now. He is about up there with Zero the tape guy. Things are so different from the canon timeline now. Even Ochako has a crush on me. Though I won't reciprocate her feelings, I better stick with Momo, because if I try to get them all, I will end up with none. You okay, Kaminari-san? Asks the seaweed hair next to me. Can't the annoying little guy just let me think about my things? Yeah, Izuku. I am okay. Just thinking out loud. I answer him with a bored voice. Your fight against Aizawa Sensei was amazing, says the walking crying machine. Holy shit, he is annoying. Can't he just get the hint that I don't want to talk? Yeah, I had to think outside the box to win that fight. What is your daily training routine, Kaminari-san? Asks the annoying bastard again. This day is gonna be long. Chapter 35. Some of the other classmates go shopping, but Kaminari excuses himself, saying that he couldn't come. He has other things going on, so he decides to not go there. Even though he knew that Midoriya is likely to meet Tamura this time too. What he is concerned about is the Villain League deciding to attack him right there. After all, unlike the original time, he was the one who fought Nomu and held the creature back relatively easy. They might decide that getting rid of him would be better than letting him live and become dangerous. Of course, this is only an assumption from Kaminari, as he doesn't have any idea of what the villains might be thinking or planning. But he still would like to keep himself safe and not fight in a situation that is unpredictable and disadvantageous. He knows best what his weaknesses are, so he will not allow people to exploit them. If he decides to fight them there and uses electricity outside of his body, then he will be killing more civilians than villains. Kaminari's quirk is a lethal one, and fighting in a crowded place is not good for him. It doesn't take long for the police to announce that something happened in the mall, so they closed it down, and they also made a special police force to stop the Villain League's future actions, like the one that happened at the mall, in which Izuku was in a pinch against Tamura Shigaraki. Kaminari didn't pay too much attention to this, though, as he was busy training with different weights on his body and using a generator to try to increase his electricity storage ability. Summer comes around. Kaminari sits on his desk. He thinks of his relationship with Momo, which hasn't gone anywhere. He planned a lot, but he didn't expect Momo to be so socially inept. But soon an opportunity will come for him to show his love for her. He keeps contemplating this. That is until Aizawa comes and explains. We will be changing places where we will be going for summer camp. Kaminari wakes up immediately and his attention is fully on. A serious look on his face as his eyes are unusually cold. That means that we can't prevent which the initial information would reach? Aizawa looks at Kaminari. In the end, he just shrugs and admits, yeah. Also, we will be looking more into the issue. Kaminari nods at this. That is when Bakugo looks at Deku and mocks. So you just let a villain threaten you? Kaminari acts like he didn't notice it, but he agreed with Bakugo. If he used one for all 100% and punched Shigaraki, the guy would have plastered in a wall. Even less to keep him alive if he wants. So many ways to survive that situation. In a fight, Shigaraki would have lost against Midoriya if he didn't immediately kill him with the sneak attacks. But he panicked and didn't think things through calmly. Normally this would be normal, but Izuku is looking to become a hero now. So Kaminari 100% agrees with Bakugo, even if he doesn't express it on the outside. Hey, we aren't allowed to use our quirks in public, so he couldn't do anything, exclaims Toru, waving her invisible arms around. Aizawa looks at her with a bored look on his face, not saying anything. Kaminari also has a bored look on his face as he thinks about the soon-to-come attack from the Villains League. Mina looks at him, seeing the bored look on his face. But she knows that Kaminari never is someone to be idle. He must be thinking of something. She wonders what he could be thinking. His thoughts would usually be in a disarray in this situation since it can be extremely dangerous and it can develop in many unpredictable ways. But strangely, he is as calm as he can be. He has never felt like this. This felt strange even to him, as it is like his feelings are being dulled. And so as the semester comes to a closure, Kaminari noticed Shinso following Elizawa and smiled. That guy's quirk is simply too useful to not be trained into an anti-villain tool. Still, though, they go to the parking lot on the school grounds. The buses are mostly used to move through the school grounds, from one part to the other. That is how big the school grounds are. It has to be for the crazy training grounds that there are. As the class president, Kaminari had some leading to do, and he did what anyone in power does. Leave it to the subordinates, aka Momo, to do the boring work. Bahahaha. What is this? Class A is supposed to be better than Class B, but you still had some failing students? Says Monoma, from Class B, laughing at Class A. But sadly for him, no one was even paying attention to him as they just talked amongst themselves. That is when a girl with orange hair tied in a ponytail, she has shining blue eyes. She just karate chops Monoma in the neck, knocking him out, picking him by the back of his neck, and dragging him toward their bus. Ibara, a girl with vine-like green hair, looks at Kendo as she drags Monoma away. She is quite scary. Yeah, agrees another student who speaks broken Japanese. Kaminari doesn't notice any of this. His mind is into other things. But as soon as Class 1 gets on the bus, everyone starts talking amongst each other. Kaminari, did you see those Class 1B girls? So many choose from. Announces Mineta as drool comes out of his mouth. He and Kaminari are sitting on the same row of seats, so he couldn't get rid of the pervert. So he nods at the little guy. Yeah, I saw them. Confirms Kaminari. But I don't know any of them personally, so I am not sure if they are attractive to me. Huh. Mineta looks at him confused. Kaminari only smiles at him gently. Of course, he said what he did for the girls on the bus to hear. He knows that everyone's initial impression is on their appearance. Like someone who has face tattoos us unhireable. Kaminari can't help but contemplate if having face tattoos is something like a rapper's pledge that they can't go back from. His eyes wander as he looks at Momo and sees her talking with Jairu. I wonder what this test will be? Wonders the earphone jack girl. Probably some field training. Most likely a way on which we will improve our quirks. Says Momo with a thoughtful look on her face. Jairu smiles smugly and goes to whisper something to Momo. This causes the latter to blush and look at Kaminari. No, it's nothing like that. Later on, they arrive at a rest stop. Kaminari takes his hands out of his pockets and looks at Momo. Be careful. She blushes at this. Boom. Before any of the 1A students can react, an avalanche of earth hits them and it pushes them away. Immediately, Kaminari uses his lightning armor mode. Electricity crackles around his body and his hair stands up. He runs amongst the rubble as it pushes everyone away. It seemed like everything was stuck in time as it has almost stopped moving. Kaminari's wander through the field. He sees Momo and grabs her in a princess carry. But at the same time, he kicks the dirt to create a cover where Mina or anyone else of the classmates could see them. He deliberately jumps off the earth and separated himself from his classmates. He also sees Aizawa is still calmly staring at the students. The earth avalanche hasn't even touched him. Kaminari doesn't need to be told if this is a villain attack. He knows who holds a quirk like this. Chapter 36. Kaminari uses his quirk's mobility to maneuver himself midair and land on the ground. With Momo still in his arms, he lets her down and acts like he didn't notice her blushing up a storm. You okay? He asks while looking around for any other attack. Yes. She nods, coming back to reality. This is not the time for such thoughts. But neither of them has too much time to think as they are surrounded by monsters made out of earth. Momo, long sword, requests Kaminari casually, without a trace of panic in his voice. Momo immediately understands what he means. Electricity is almost useless against them since they are made out of earth. So she makes a long sword and gives it to him. With the long sword in his hands, electricity crackles around him and he disappears in a flash. Fwash. Before Momo could even see what happened, the next thing she sees is the earth beasts cut down to pieces. Kaminari turns around and picks up Momo in a princess carry without even asking her. Wah. Momo is surprised by this. But Kaminari has a concentrated look on his face and says, we must reunite with the others. This is the fastest way. The way he says it makes it sound more like he was informing her of his decision rather than. As he reaches the others, that is when Aizawa's voice is heard from a speaker. Check, okay. This is the 1A test. You will have to reach the lodge on the other side of the forest, so figure out the rest by yourself. Everyone is confused by this, but Kaminari knows what this means, and he decides to take charge of the situation. Okay, everyone, listen to me. Huh? Bakugo looks at Kaminari with an annoyed look on his face. Who the hell put you in charge, Sparkles?
C'est mon Aokachan.
Now is not the time to fight, says Izuku nervously. Shut the hell up, Deku, screams Bakugo. He doesn't need Deku to tell him what to do. Bzzzt. The sound of lightning crackling was heard as everyone looked at Kaminari and they saw a cold look on his face. He looks straight at Bakugo and says, you either do as I say, or I knock you out and carry you to the ledge. Bakugo doesn't say anything after that. He knows that Kaminari doesn't make nonsensical threats. He will really do what he says, so he decided to not edge his classmate on anymore. Anyway, me, Todoroki, and Kirishima will be at the front. Bakugo will be at the rear. The others look to the sides. But Bakugo will replace Todoroki after a while, and we will continue this circle of exchange so we don't get tired. Explains Kaminari, also pointing and making some other teams that will replace each other so everyone has some time to rest. Everyone okay with that? Everyone nods, even a reluctant Bakugo. Hours later, the sun is about to set. In the lodge, Aizawa and the Wild Pussycats heroes are waiting for Class 1A to arrive when, boom! The forest in front of them explodes, and a large dust cloud appears. Damn it! And Bakugo's scream is heard. Seems like they are already here, announces Aizawa. They did it quite fast. Tiger, the muscular man in the Wild Pussycats hero team, is quite impressed by the young heroes in training. Aizawa smirks. Well, they are quite exceptional. Though the homeroom teacher won't say it out loud, this class is quite possibly the best it has ever had. At least he is sure that they are the best class he has had, and he is sure that quite a lot of them will make it to the top 10 at least. There is Midoriya, Bakugo, Todoroki, Kirishima, and Kaminari. Those 5 are the ones in his mind who will make it to the top 10 in the hero rankings. Boom! One more explosion is heard and the forest in front of the lodge bursts apart as Kaminari charges ahead with a little tired look on his face, while Bakugo and Todoroki were using their quirks to try and keep the others safe. We arrived now, losers, yells Bakugo while looking at the people behind him. He turns around and looks in front of him. He can only see Kaminari's back, which pisses him off. He doesn't like always having to be in his shadow. How the hell am I gonna be number 1 by just being in his shadow? Todoroki, on the other hand, has a calm look on his face as he looks at Kaminari. He saw something that he didn't expect today. He saw that Kaminari had a major weakness on his quirk. He hadn't used any long-range attack with the others around him. He only covered his limbs with electricity, and he punched and slashed at the earth beasts that way. That was how he figured out that Kaminari can't control the electricity outside of his body. Not too big of a weakness, but something to take into account next time he fights him. Kirishima has a smile on his face. He is in his Red Riot unbreakable form. He also has bashed through multiple earth beasts and was able to keep up with Bakugo and Todoroki, even if they had more destructive quirks. Midoriya looks at Kaminari and the backs of the others. He can feel tears almost come out of his eyes. I need to train harder to be able to keep up with them. At 5% one for all, he couldn't keep up at all with them, as they had gotten way better than they were during the sports festival. Because while he had grown, the others had grown too. Will I ever be able to catch up to them this way?
No.
I know I will. I have one for all, the quirk that all might use to become the symbol of hope. I will do the same too. As Midoriya was hyping himself up, Aizawa shrugs and tells the rest of 1A, eat. And this is the last time the food will be prepared for you. Next time it's all up to you. After that, the students all go and eat the food prepared for them by the Wild Pussycats. This is so good, exclaims Kirishima, which causes Pixie Bob, the pretty blonde hair member of the Wild Pussycats, to smile in satisfaction. She then starts gushing over Kaminari, Izuku, Todoroki, Bakugo, and Kirishima. Kaminari didn't pay any attention to this 31-year-old woman who is looking for the attention of a man. Instead, he is thinking about the attacks that should happen soon. He can only plan for the worst and hope for the best. He now understands the way things are working now. Changes are inevitably going to happen, and the best he can do is survive, if the worst comes to play. Later on, the class goes to the hot springs. Kaminari has a towel around his midsection, and he closes his eyes with a hot towel covering them. Hey, do you think he is sleeping? Asks Mineta. Shuji just looks at him and transforms one of his arms into a mouth to say,
No.
I don't believe so. He must always be on guard. We are talking about Kaminari here, you know. Mineta contemplates something and then smiles as a malicious look appears on his face. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I must go and climb the wall that separates man from heaven. Ijiro looks at him weirdly as Mineta starts climbing the wall. Kaminari's ear twitches for a split second. What he is doing currently is training. He is trying to create something like catching electromagnetic signals. He picked the wooden bucket that was floating in the water around him and threw it. Fwash! The wooden bucket flew with impeccable precision and hit Mineta in the head as he was climbing the wall. Bomb! Ah! Mineta screams as he starts falling to the ground. Kaminari, you bastard! Shuji just nods at this. As expected of Kaminari. Perfect aim. Everyone else looks at Shuji weirdly. When did he become such a die-hard fan of Kaminari? At this time, the kid Kota is on the wall of the hot springs and looks at Mineta with disdain. He is there to keep perverts like Mineta away, But accidentally, he turns around and looks at the girl's side. Immediately, he is surprised and starts falling. "Oi, the kid is gonna fall," yells out Kirishima. "Bzzz." But before Kota can hit the ground, Kaminari catches him by the back of his shirt in the blink of the eye and smiles. "Yo there, kid. You should be more careful." Kota huffs and gets off his grasp, starting to walk away. Kaminari just shrugs at this, knowing his backstory already and that the kid hates heroes because his parents were heroes and died. Later on, as everyone goes to their lodges to sleep, Mandalay, Wild Pussycat Team, the brown-haired 3 girl, approaches the guys group and looks at Kaminari. "Thanks for helping Kota," as she says that she has a small blush on her face. "Damn it, Kaminari. He is even better with older women," whines Mineta. Like always, girls gush at Kaminari even when he doesn't seem to be trying. Everyone can see how Momo, Mina, and many other girls look at him with love-struck eyes. Even the Denso Chaco has a crush on him. "No problem, my body just moved on its own," says Kaminari with a gentle smile on his face, again lying about his body moving on its own. But he can also see that the blush on Mandalay's face is fake. What could she be up to? Wonders Kaminari. He isn't some teenage boy who thinks that a woman like Mandalay, a woman with an experience like her, would gush at him like this unless she has alternative thoughts. Still, he can only sigh internally. Hopefully it's nothing too troublesome from her. The next day comes about, and as everyone is gathered, Aizawa looks at the students in front of him with his usual tired look in his eyes. "Good morning. Anyway, let's get straight to the point. Today we will begin quirk training." "But sir, haven't we already been training quirks? What is so different now?" asks Mina with a curious look on her face. As he sees that most of the students also seem to be of the same mindset, Aizawa points at Bakugo and says, "Katsuki, what was the distance you threw your ball during the quirk apprehension test on the first day of school?" "Huh?" Bakugo is confused by the question, but he still answers calmly. 705.2 meters, Aizawa nods at that. While Bakugo is rude to most of the people, he respects Aizawa. He has seen the man's will and how far he is willing to go. He saw that clearly during the USJ incident. "Okay then, throw it again," says Aizawa, giving Bakugo another ball. Bakugo takes the ball and throws it with his full power. D. Boom. As the ball flies away, Aizawa shows the students the distance measurer. It says 710 meters. Better than the quirk apprehension test, but not by much. While you have improved your stamina, strength, and quirk usage, you haven't improved the powers of your quirks too much, explains Aizawa. His gaze stops at Kaminari for a split second as he says that. "Well, accept him," thinks Aizawa, as he has already seen some camera footage of Kaminari training his quirk on the school training fields even after everyone else went home. In comparison to the others, Kaminari was different. He trained way more than the others. Because while the kids his age went around to rest, sleep, or such, he was training, and even more training. And so the quirk training begins. Kaminari is the person Aizawa is paying most attention to, as the kid is tied to a giant generator of electricity. From what Aizawa had seen, Kaminari's usage of his quirk is already phenomenal. He has pushed his electrification quirks to a whole new level never thought possible before. So they had decided to train his reserves. Kaminari can already store up to hundreds of millions of volts. But he has expressed his desire to want to have a larger reserve, and after that, he has plans to study and see if he can control the electricity outside of his own body. Okay. That was Aizawa's simple answer to all that. Anyway, let's start your training. A generator half the size of the mountain is put up and Kaminari moves inside, which is a metallic room. Aizawa already gave him instructions on how to manage something like this. So Kaminari closes his eyes and says, "Computer, turn up discharge to 100 million volts." Bzzzt. A huge current of electricity runs through the room and Kaminari is hit by all of it, even though he is not hurt on the outside. He can feel his body feel bloated and heat up. 203 million volts is when the heat on his body becomes unbearable and he yells out, "Stop!" The electricity immediately stops. Kaminari winces slightly as a part of his skin on his arm is charred. But he doesn't mind. Now that he has access to equipment like this, he can rein his storage and output, unlike home where he could only go to sneak into sports stadiums to train. He knows that his storage is like a muscle, and the more he trains it, the better it gets. Though he guesses that there must be a limit, while it is physical, as his body will either start showing adverse effects when storing too much, or just the storage growth having a real max capacity. Now is the time to train and push past my limits. Contemplates Kaminari resolutely. He has a lead against Izuku, who will get many quirks from One for All. He plans to keep that lead against the OFA user. He will never settle for number 2, because number 2 is just the best loser, meaning he will still be a loser no matter what, unless he is number 1. So evening comes around and it's time for the students themselves to cook. Kaminari urges his peers to work together. Whoa, look how good at cutting Bakugo is. That is so surprising, exclaims Ochako in surprise. But it was true, as Bakugo was cutting like a chef would and doing so precisely and fast. Hey, what is so surprising, huh? Exclaims Bakugo with his usual raging look on his face. It's just you losers being bad at everything that you do. Kaminari smirks at this, and he also starts cutting some vegetables for the curry. Whoa, Kaminari too? Exclaims Siro, tape guy. As even Kaminari was cutting like Bakugo, they had their little silent competition going on already. Whoa, they are so uber talented. I hate it, exclaims Mineta with a despairing look on his face. How will I ever get girls like this? That's what you are worried about, yells the rest of the class in annoyance, especially the girls, as they were glad that Kaminari isn't like Mineta and he won't use his good looks and talent to get girls. At least that is from their perspective of him. While the others were talking like that, Kaminari was enjoying himself too, and doing some silly things like shocking a little bug to death and then back to life. Whoa, that is cool, says Ijiro.
OU.
Don't harm a creature needlessly, reprimands Momo. But as she does so, Kaminari sees that Midoriya has gone away, from what he remembers. He should have gone to find Kodo, as he isn't here. Then this is the night, thinks Kaminari as he gets up and apologizes. Sorry, Guts, but I will go and bring Midoriya back. He runs off, already a plan in his mind, and what he will do when the villains attack. 3 days pass, and there is no villain attack in sight. Kaminari frowns at this slightly as he is currently training with his quirk. Did I remember it wrong? He has been here for many years now, so him not exactly remembering some things isn't a big deal. He would be okay with that alternative, because if he remembers correctly and the villains didn't attack, it means something even worse. They have possibly changed their plan, concludes Kaminari, slightly nervous at this. He now knows that they must have a countermeasure or two against him and his quirk, which would be the worst situation possible for him. Damn, I shouldn't have displayed so much during the USJ incident. He knows that he should have done some things differently, but there is no medicine for regret, so he has to live with his decisions. But maybe if I didn't display such power, the heroes who knew of my power would find it weird. So maybe it wasn't a bad mistake after all. In the end, he comes to a realization. He shouldn't have revealed his power from the beginning. Ever since he entered U.A, and on the day of the exam he shouldn't have displayed so much. Then he could have acted as he would have wanted and had a little more wiggle room. He could also go plus ultra when he would need it and fake his true power as a moment in which he went past his limit. But as he thinks of this, he concludes, there is no use crying over spilled milk. But from now on, he will make damn sure to hide more of what he can do. That way he could have his own plus ultra moment when it suits him. Kaminari smirks at this, having come to his realization. Chapter 37. Another day passes by quietly in the forest training, which makes Kaminari even nervous with each passing day. And during one of the nights after training, while every other student in 1A and 1B is conversing with each other, even Kaminari is talking with the others and portraying himself as if he is having fun. But on the inside, he is fully on guard and even expects a certain blood-drinking girl being amongst them already. He has made sure that a student from 1A is not the one she has impersonated. So if she has, it would be one of the 1B. He is quite sure of that. Boom. Suddenly, out of nowhere, an explosion rings out. Kaminari immediately enters lightning mode, and his speed explodes. He pushes everyone out of the dining table and jumps off himself. The explosion wasn't strong enough to kill them all, but enough to kill most and cripple the others. Aizawa has a grave look on his face as he sees this, blaming himself as he couldn't react and has a yellow flash push him out of the way. "Kaminari!" exclaims Mina. Aizawa looks over and his eyes as he sees a wincing Kaminari holding to his side as he is bleeding. At that exact moment, a purple gas fills the field covering everyone. "Bakugo! Shoto! Use your quirks to create an explosion that generates strong enough air to push back this mist," yells Kaminari immediately. He is already prepared to use his classmates' quirks to the maximum. This will help him. Also, currently he has burst a blood bad under his shirt to make him seem injured. This way his enemies underestimate him and think he is weakened. Act like prey. Be a predator. That thought rings inside Kaminari's head as he winces to fully play the act. His classmates also seem to be worried about him. "Everyone, don't worry about me. It's only a small wound. Concentrate on the enemies," yells Kaminari, cough, before he coughs out blood in his hand, breaking another small blood packet inside his mouth. Anyone who knows the basics of medicine would know that coughing out blood most likely means that he has an internal injury. "Whoa, seems like our target is already injured. What a weakling, bahaha," says a voice coming from the trees, his muscles acting like an exoskeleton below his neck. He is muscular, and he looks at every student below him while licking his lips. Boom! The purple mist is blown away by Bakugo and Shoto. Bakugo has an angry look in his eyes. He can't stand it. He was just saved by someone else. Just like the time with the sludge villain, except this time it is worse. He was saved by someone who he considers his rival. He looks at Muscular with a murderous look in his eyes. Bakugo then starts speaking strangely calmly. "What? You think you can take Sparky right under our noses? Keep dreaming, you bastard." Boom! A huge explosion goes towards Muscular. A pillar of ice also accompanied it. The man smiles and is about to jump away, but his eyes widen as his quirk doesn't function, while his muscles retract inside his body going floppy. Aizawa looks at the man with an angry look in his eyes. Muscular smirks at that. "Whoa, well, ain't you a scary group of people? I wonder what your bashed-in heads will look like?" Fwash. But before Muscular is hit, in a green flash, a green Nomu appears and punches the explosion and ice away. Boom! But as this happens, Nomu's vision is obscured for a split second. Kaminari immediately takes that chance, and with a sword sneakily created by Momo, he appears to Nomu's side. Fwish! He swings for Nomu's head, but the creature is fast and it can dodge, though an arm still goes flying. "Kaminari, stay back," yells Aizawa. He can see that a copious amount of blood is flowing from Kaminari's side, and he looks more like a zombie with blood all around him. "Don't worry," yells Kaminari, his eyes pointedly looking at Muscular. "I will save everyone." He runs at top speeds at Muscular, but he is stopped as the green Nomu touches his electromagnetic barrier and Kaminari's body immediately does an auto-dodging sequence programmed into the technique. This saves Kaminari from getting a real injury. Muscular's smile twitches at this as he sees Kaminari dodge Nomu's hit. Damn, that kid's instinct's crazy. How did he dodge that mid-air attack? Especially with that critical injury on him. He didn't know about Kaminari's auto-dodge system, so he just assumed that it was him dodging the attack by himself. Suddenly, a dark portal opens 1 centimeter away from Kaminari's back. He can sense this, and his eyes widen. Suddenly, a hand comes from it. Kaminari twists his arm to use it as a defense, thinking that it might be Shigaraki with his power, but a gloved hand touches him. The students and teachers look at this terrified as Kaminari is turned into a small marble. Mr. Compress comes out of the dark portal as it enlarges. Well, seems like we got our main target. Fwash! In a big shockwave, Izuku breaks his legs, charging immediately towards Compress. In his mind, an image of a bloody Kaminari going to save everyone even with heavy injuries. He can't accept something like that. He goes to punch Compress, but Muscular appears in front of him. Boom! Well, that punch has quite some power behind it, kid, but nowhere near enough. Yells out Muscular, using his muscles and buffing them up to handle one for all at 100%. The Nomu moves at top speed, appearing at Izuku's side and about to punch him. Boom! But Kirishima takes the hit and is thrown back, but he immediately gets up once more.
OU.
In no way you will take Kaminari from here. He has an angry look on his face. I wanted to show this move to Kaminari, but his mind wanders to the countless times that Kaminari beat him during their spars. His mind goes to a specific move. Lightning Lariat, a move in which Kaminari concentrates electricity in his arm and rushes his enemy at top speeds. Kirishima takes a breath and his body settles down, canceling his quirk, but his feet suddenly become like claws and he grips into the ground. At the same time, his arm becomes spiky. Fwash! Using all his power, he kicks off the ground and charges at Muscular. Since Midoriya's hits do not affect. Bomb! Blood comes out of Muscular as Kirishima's spikes pierce through his muscles and heavily injure his body. But Kirishima doesn't pay any attention to that as he charges to Compress. But at this time, a dark portal opens, and Compress puts his hand through it, making a portal open next to Kirishima and touching him. Compress is confused at first, but then he looks at Aizawa. You are a pretty cool guy. That is when suddenly Kendo appears behind Aizawa. Fwish! And she stabs a knife on his back. Immediately Todoroki uses his ice quirk, but Kendo jumps up and a liquid comes out of her body as her figure melts away. Whoa, that was so close! Exclaims Toga as she appears with a smile on her face. I want to see the cool Kaminari, senpai once more. You can't keep us away. She licks her lips as she says that. Momo looks at all of this calmly, remembering what Kaminari told her when he asked her for a sword. Well, we better get out of here, says Compress, and a portal appears below all the League of Villains, teleporting all of them away. Kaminari, Bakugo, and the rest have a shocked look on their faces. Inevitably, for a split second, everyone drops their guard. And in that second another small portal opens below Bakugo. He immediately jumps up, but a blue aura appears around him which makes him be forcefully pulled towards the small portal, in which Compress hand comes out and touches Bakugo. Everyone charges at Bakugo to stop him from being captured, but it was too late already. An injured Aizawa couldn't turn around quick enough and Bakugo was also captured, resulting in an absolute loss for the heroes. 2 hours later, in an undisclosed location, the League of Villains looked at two prisoners in front of them, tied up to their chairs. All for One was also looking at them through the screen. Hey, do you want to join the League of Villains? Asks All for One. Bakugo stays silent. Sure, I don't see why not, says Kaminari with a smile on his face. Bagoku looks at him shocked.
OU Sparky.
What the hell do you think you are doing? Kaminari only smiles maliciously. At the same time, in Udata High, a meeting between all the teachers was being held. The media is slandering our reputation, says Nizu, still with a casual look on his face. Aizawa frowns at this. Knock, knock, knock. That is when they hear a knock on the door and in comes Momo with a nervous look on her face and a strange phone-like device in her hand. Sorry for intruding, but I have come to say what Kaminari told me before he charged at Nomu. All of the teachers look at her. None of them say anything except Nizu, who smiles. You can tell us, Mississippi Momo. She nods and puts the device in her hand on the desk. Aizawa immediately recognizes what it is. A tracker. Then his face morphs into a smile, understanding what is going on now. That stupid brat. Chapter 38. Yeah, I will join you guys. Kaminari accepts while looking at All for One on the TV screen, completely ignoring Bakugo, who looks at him with shock and dissatisfaction. Still, Kaminari continues talking with the man on the TV. So are you the leader of the Villain League? Kaminari is wrapped in a rubber suit. This is a countermeasure of the League of Villains, so he can't discharge electricity. He is also strapped to a chair, while Bakugo also has his hands strapped to a metal-looking box, so in case he uses his explosion quirk his hands will just blow up. You aren't being sincere, says All for One, a smile still on his face. Bakugo frowns at this, and then he understands what is going on. Kaminari is just playing them. He smirks at that and looks at the villains and says,
OU.
I will join you guys too. You are also being insincere, says All for One. Kaminari, with a smile on his face, shakes his head. Well, obviously we are insincere. We were heroes in training a couple of hours ago. But treating us like animals definitely won't help your case. I mean, if you are a charismatic leader, you will be able to convince us. Ha ha ha. All for One laughs at that, even though the TV a dangerous aura that envelopes everyone in the room. But Kaminari still keeps a smile on his face. He then nudges his head slightly. So, will you at least release us? Sure, says All for One, playing along with Kaminari. But the other one will be kept locked, and you will keep your rubber suit on. Kaminari shrugs at that. Sure, I don't see why not. Toga, take off his restraints. Sure, says Toga happily. All for One is cautious as he sees Kaminari out of his restraints. His stolen premonition quirk nudges that the members of the Villain League will all die if he isn't here. That is why he decided to be on video call for this. Denki Kaminari, extremely dangerous. Tamura would be killed, and so would the rest if he is left alone. Even with Muscular, Moonfish, and Dabi in there, it feels dangerous to leave that kid alone. As Kaminari is released, he gets and sees that he is wearing one body-tight rubber suit and a loose one above it. He just rubs his wrists. He doesn't do anything at this time. Too dangerous to do anything at this time. Contemplates Kaminari as he tries to pull out how his brother would act in a situation like this. Keep a gentle smile on your face, always. But be careful to not make it too creepy. So, now that we are teammates, how about we talk about each other? Suggests Kaminari. Me, calls out Toga. My name is Himiko Toga. Then she blushes and looks at Kaminari with a glance. When I saw you at the sports festival, I just couldn't resist. Can I have some of your blood? Kaminari smiles at that. Well, I am currently lacking blood. So how about when I heal? Promise? Yep, it's a promise, says Kaminari, a smile on his face. He then looks at the middle school-looking kid with a gas mask. From what he remembers in the anime, he is the guy who creates the purple poisonous gas. Muscular, Moonfish with his strange teeth quirk, and this guy have all survived and not gone to jail. I will need to fix that little deviation. Contemplates Kaminari. He can't let them be villains from today onwards. How about you, Kaminari, Kuin? Asks Shigaraki, scratching his neck. He doesn't feel good at all as he sees Kaminari acting so casual. He still remembers the time during the USJ attack. Why don't talk about yourself? Sure. Well, my name is Denki Kaminari. 15 years old. I like a lot of things, my hobbies. I don't have any of them, and I don't hate many things. As for my dreams for the future, I don't know, never thought about them. Answers Kaminari with an honest smile on his face. Grr. Shigaraki is angry at this. You mocking me? What is up with those answers? Kaminari nervously just shakes his hands. No, I think you just misunderstood. There are just some things that I am not comfortable revealing. After all, if I asked you about your childhood or something like that, would you reveal it for me? Shigaraki only grunts and looks away. A man-child. Analyses Kaminari, already building plans. His quirk isn't the only thing dangerous. He knows many things about him that could be even more dangerous in a situation like this. Come on now, we are all comrades. How about we at least know each other's names and what I can call you guys? Says Kaminari, that friendly smile still on his face. I am Muscular. Says Muscular, he is a very buff guy. Moonfish. Mumbles the man wrapped in leather with only his mouth exposed. Mustard. Answers the kid. I am twice. Himiko Toga, but you can call me Toga-chan. Not gonna reveal anything to you. Says Dabi with an annoyed look on his face. He also feels something strange about Kaminari. Spinner. Says the Ninja Turtle-looking guy. You can call me Mr. Compress. Says the man wearing a mark. Kurogiri. Answers the mass of darkness. Kaminari nods at them. He then looks at Shigaraki. What about you? Shigaraki. He answers and clenches his hand into a fist. Baguko looks at this with a calm look in his eyes. But inwardly he is shocked. Kaminari just made the villains give out their names. Some of them even gave their real names. He sure is slick as hell. Already the villains treat him as a reluctant friend. He might make something of this situation if he keeps this up, But the man on the TV, he seems to also see what Kaminari is up to, though at the same time he doesn't seem willing to stop him. All for One has another plan for this. He plans to use Kaminari's plan against him. He wants Kaminari to get to know the League of Villain members, and then when he sees that villains are also people, and not some demonized people that the media portrays them as. But Kaminari, on the other hand, couldn't care less about this. He isn't some kid. He knows that the League of Villains are human too. Stupid from his view, but still human. And he will kill them as humans also. What he truly is getting from these talks is an excuse. That is all. Just an excuse to say how he discovered the League of Villains' powers. So anyway, do you have anything around here to eat? Asks Kaminari. I can make myself some food. Kurogiri just points at the bar, which has some ingredients to make sandwiches. At the same time in U.High, after Momo shows the tracking device, she creates another and points at one. This is for Kaminari's location, and the other is for the Green Nomu's location. Kaminari told me that he will show the League of Villains' location once and for all. He had put the tracker in his wound. She winces slightly as she remembers that. He had to put it quite deep in that split second so others wouldn't notice it. Nizu looks at this with a serious look on his face. I see. Then we can't let Kaminari's efforts go to waste. The heroes don't know what to say. They have a 15-year-old like Kaminari willing to take such drastic actions. Some of the pro-heroes in here wonder if they would be able to do that to themselves and handle the pain, though they feel bad for having Kaminari resort to such methods. This will undoubtedly give them all a huge advantage against the villains, and it will give them the way to destroy all the Nomus at least. They all know just how dangerous those creatures can be. After getting out of the meeting room, Momo had already told everything that she knows to the teachers, but she still feels like she hasn't done enough. As soon as she is outside, she sees Mina, Kirishima, and Todoroki waiting. Kirishima looks at her and says, Momo, all of us plus Midoriya have agreed to go and rescue Kaminari and Bakugo. Are you in? Momo looks nervous for a split second. Then a figure of a bloody Kaminari appears in her mind, and strangely she calms down. After that, she has a resolute look in her eyes and says, yes. While during this, Kaminari had made some sandwiches and eating them. We should try getting a grill in here. I will cook some meat for you guys. He then goes towards Bakugo with a sandwich and tells the others, I will give this one to him. We haven't eaten dinner at all. Also, a full stomach makes us all feel better for each other, haha. As he says that, he hand feeds Bakugo, who looks at Kaminari and sees a certain something in them. He takes a bite without saying anything. I knew it. There is no way this slick bastard wasn't up to something, concludes Bakugo as he can feel that the sandwich is dosed in alcohol from the bar. This will make his heart beat faster and his sweat glands will open wider. But this was also a message from Kaminari to Bakugo. This meant that Bakugo should be ready at any moment now. They will soon make their escape. Kaminari smiles at this as he sees that Bakugo got his message. Under everyone's gaze, they had already communicated and understood this now. For an angry bullhead guy, Bakugo is quite smart. Also, now is the time I do my fake plus ultra. My quirk doesn't allow me to control the electricity outside of my body. Then why doesn't my electricity hit the ground if that is so? As soon as it's out of my body, it would hit the ground. But that isn't the case at all, meaning that my inability to control the electricity outside of my body is only because I haven't looked at it from another perspective and used a new sense. The electricity comes out of me. It is a part of me. Kaminari looks at the other league members, and with his hand behind his back, he does a countdown from 3. Bakugo notices that all of the straps to his chair were burned open. Even his metal cuffs are deformed on the inside, making them loose. Bakugo wonders just how the hell Kaminari did all this, but he doesn't waste time now at that. Now, yells Kaminari, disorientating the rest of the League of Villains members. Immediately from the ground, a giant spike made out of some type of dark sand comes and it skewers through Muscular, killing him instantly. A smile appears on Kaminari's face, and unlike his usual friendly one, this terrifies all of the Villain League members. Chapter 39. Everyone is shocked due to the dark spike made out of iron sand that pierced Muscular. Kaminari doesn't waste any more time and again manipulates the iron sand to surround him and Bakugo. But this is all a diversion, as a small amount of iron sand goes towards Moonfish and it splatters along his jaw. Crunch, destroying it and making the villain unable to use its metal tooth quirk. The middle school-looking kid, Mustard, the guy who can create the purple poisonous must, is also shocked as his foot is pierced by iron sand. Ah! He screams in pain and falls to the ground. That is when the other members of the league are distracted once again for a split second, and during that time, an opening appears on the black sand tornado that Kaminari had surrounded himself and Bakugo. Out of the opening comes Bakugo, who goes after Tamura and blasts him in the face, knocking out the young man.
You bastard!
Yells Bakugo. We are heroes. No way we will join you trash villain group. Hee hee. Kaminari's smile comes from the dark sand as it stops rotating and settles down around him. Bakugo is right. We are gonna be the best goddamn heroes. No way we will settle as villains. Bakugo is the guy with the second most willpower in wishing to become a hero, the first being me, of course. Bakugo still has a smile on his face as he hears Kaminari say that. Watch my shadow, you electric bastard. Try to keep up, explosion boy, says Kaminari as they both start attacking the villain league. Kirojiri tries to create some portals, but Kaminari's iron sand turns into spikes and charges at its weak point. So he has to create portals to intercept those. While everyone else is not looking, Toga takes that chance to use her technique and appears behind Kaminari without him or Bakugo noticing. But as she goes to stab Kaminari on the back, her knife stops as it's about to touch his skin. Fwish! And it flies out of her hand as it is repulsed backward into her stomach. I did a plus ultra here, says Kaminari. This pressure helped him think of his quirk in ways that he had never even imagined before. Though he did entertain the thought and did try for a certain time, he didn't have that conviction that is born due to the pressure of real danger and death. Now that he knows that he can control the electricity outside of his body, he has already thought of endless possibilities. But at this moment, this new ability of his is untrained, and even though he is acting casual, he has already wasted more than 20% of his reserves. He can't control it good enough and has wasted a lot of energy controlling the iron sand. Bakugo can also see that as Kaminari seems to be breathing heavier than normal. Bakugo's instincts are crazy like that. This complements his fighting style too. Fwum! Dabi shoots some blue fire at Kaminari, who just creates an iron sand wall which immediately starts melting. Bakugo sees this and determines that Dabi is a bad enemy for Kaminari to fight, so he charges at him. Spinner tries to interrupt him, but Bakugo is not worried at all. His trust in Kaminari is high, and he wasn't disappointed as a black iron sand tentacle grabs the ninja turtle-looking man and slams him on the ground. Bomb! Compress appears behind Kaminari, and the latter couldn't keep his normal auto-dodge barrier around him as his concentration is all into controlling the iron sand. But he had iron sand all around him, and Compress did something that normally wouldn't be any big deal. He stepped on the iron sand, sending a signal to Kaminari, who senses it and immediately creates an iron sand wall behind him, which is compressed. Still, it was too late as Kaminari had jumped away. He spreads the iron sand all over the room and even gets one of Dabi's hands, crunch, crushing it, and Bakugo uses this split second to use a huge explosion. Boom! Dabi is covered in an explosion, Kaminari and Bakugo working in perfect unison. Just when the League of Villains thought that it couldn't get any worse. Smash! Boom! Comes All Might's voice, and Kamiri Woods uses his vines to restrain everyone in the room. Huh. All Might is confused by it until he looks at Bakugo and Kaminari, who have confident looks on their faces. You can capture the villains now. We already took care of them, says Kaminari casually. Bakugo also shrugs at that. Yeah, they were all kinds of weak. Ha 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 ha. All Might laughs heroically when he hears that. I guess I should call an ambulance. He then points to the villains. For them. Yep, says Kaminari, nodding along. Bakugo only smirks at that. Also young Kaminari, says All Might in his usual loud voice. We will talk later about why you shouldn't do something like this. Kaminari nods at that while Bakugo is confused. What is he talking about? Kaminari doesn't answer. Instead, he just leans forward and forces himself to throw up. Blue. On the ground falls his lunch, all mushed up, and a small circular device that kept beeping red light. Kaminari has a victorious smile on his face. I put a tracker on me and the Nomu, so we would be able to find the villain hideout and where all the Nomu are. Bakugo looks at Kaminari shocked. He has one-upped him again. But he wasn't angry this time as he would usually be. But at this exact time, Kaminari's and Bakugo's eyes widen as a gray liquid surrounds them both. Kaminari feels as if he is in a strange liquid before he is repelled into another location. He immediately recognizes the place as the place where All Might and All for One fought in the anime. Destroyed buildings all around and a giant crater in the ground. As Bakugo and the rest of the Villains League are here, but as All for One sees them mostly knocked out, his fingers extend into red metal rods with red veins and stab into Kurogiri. Forceful quirk activation. Immediately a dark warp gate opens up, having every one of the villains go through it.
Des dames,
Says Bakugo as he sees the other heroes on the ground, and even Best Jeanist with a hole to his side. That must be the strongest villain in the world. Bakugo could instinctively tell that the man is strong. Extremely strong. Kaminari, on the other hand, just clenches his hand and looks at All for One, as a dangerous oppressing aura comes out of the villain. But what most of the people there didn't know is Izuku, Momo, Mina, Ida, and Kirishima, they were hiding behind one of the walls. They almost feel like throwing up just by feeling the presence of this man. Kaminari, on the other hand, doesn't seem frightened on the outside, because something else was happening inside of him. Inside of his mind, Kaminari was in a blank white space, staring at a figure made out of the darkness in front of him, sitting on the ground. The only thing that seems distinctive about the figure is the giant grin on its face. It seems as if it's splitting his face apart. It has no eyes, nose, hair, or anything else. It has a humanoid form and ears. Amazing, isn't it? Asks the figure. Its voice seems as if thousands of deep voices talking at the same time. Kaminari doesn't say anything, instead goes forward and grabs the creature by the throat and picks it up.
ugh,
The thing seems to struggle, but its giant smile is once more very apparent on his face. That is a nice look you have on your face. Kaminari doesn't say anything, his eyes deathly calm and bloodshot as he looks straight at the creature in front of him. Would you get out of my body? Though it seemed like a question, he was ordering it. Hee hee. The dark creature laughs. Who is to say that it is just your body? After all, aren't we the same? Kaminari is confused at this until the creature points at its head. We are one. Always have been. Says the creature. After all, don't you remember how your brother died? Immediately Kaminari frowns as his eyes widen. His brother died due to a car crash. But why? Why does he suddenly have another memory of him? A memory of them growing old together and living, being at each other's weddings, funerals, and so much more. We grow old and die happy with our family by our side. Don't you want to know the truth? Let's become one like we always were. Says the creature as it extends his hands towards Kaminari. You will gain unimaginable power then. You will know everything. The creature's hands are about to touch Kaminari's head. Fwish. But before it can do so, both of the creature's hands fall on the ground. Huh. Kaminari has a cold look on his face. I told you to fuck off. I know who I am. I am myself. I can think, therefore I am. He then grabs the creature's head and cracks it like an egg, having it turn to dust. The rest of the dark creature also turns to dust. Who cares? Contemplates Kaminari. Dumbass, I will do what I want. I am myself, not my brother, not anyone else. So I will do whatever I want. Says Kaminari suddenly on the outside. Boom. In a blink of an eye, All for One's hand is blown off. Kaminari has a cold look in his eyes as he looks straight at the man. Oi, villain, run away now, for I am here, in a flash. As he says that, he jumps up, as he is midair. This is his weakness since he can't have his top speed. All for One smirks at this as his arm is recreated into a new one. But he winces at this slightly. His body is too worn out already. He didn't think that he would take this much damage. He shoots some wind balls at Kaminari, who only twitches his fingers slightly. Immediately behind his back, a pair of wings, made out of electricity, appear. Chapter 40. Kaminari looks around and sees the cameras around him. He nods to himself internally. This is what he wanted. He wants to show the world what he is made of, and how he will be the #1 hero. Black sand appears around him, and he has a serious look on his face. He must finish this fight as soon as he can. His electricity reserves will not hold up at all. He only had 150 volts, already expended over 50 million. The black sand turns into tendrils, and it charges towards All for One. The man smiles and points his hand at Kaminari. Well, isn't that something? Pow! The iron sand is dispersed in with an air cannon, but Kaminari had already dodged the attack way before it was even shot. He still remembers some of the quirks All for One used against All Might in the anime. Kaminari also observes something else. He can see that All for One has a regeneration quirk. It is dangerous, but he knows how to take care of that. Just burn the wound. It won't regenerate after that. 60% left. Calculates Kaminari, his reserves taking a huge dip in power. Still, All for One smiles at that, causing Kaminari to think that he must have a quirk that can see how much power he has. Still, though, that doesn't matter. I just need to hold him back enough. Kaminari then starts experimenting by heating the iron sand around him, trying to determine how All for One sees things. Is it heat-seeking or echolocation, or both? Maybe a whole different quirk altogether. One thing is for sure, though, he doesn't plan to rush All for One. It doesn't matter whether the man is weakened or not. He knows that he wouldn't be able to beat All for One when he could blow half a city in one shot. But now, it is more up to discussion. Kaminari takes out a specially made coin, one that wouldn't melt due to the heat created by the air resistance. Bakugo! Yells out Kaminari. Take the other heroes to safety and some of the civilians around. I am trusting you on this. That is all Kaminari needs to say. He knows no matter how Bakugo, he still wants to be a hero. He doesn't do this just for fun, and the recent predicament of theirs has allowed them to understand each other better. Bakugo doesn't wait for a second more, and starts using explosions to repel himself to the buildings to save people. Izuku Pova's I looked at Katchan. That was the first time I saw the difference between me and him. While I was scared and couldn't move, he had gone to save the people. While Kaminari is fighting All for One because even while it seems like no attack seems to be going through, boom, boom, boom. Suddenly 3 simultaneous attacks are fired by Kaminari. Ones that I couldn't even see except that they looked like a shining light hitting All for One, destroying half his chest and his lower body. Ahaha! But All for One still laughs. I made this quirk combination to fight against All Might, but I guess it doesn't seem to work for you. Who could have thought that I would meet someone like you here? Brat, do you want my quirk, All for One? Join me, and I will give it to you if you join me. As he says that, my heart drops. I know Kaminari will say no, but for that split second doubt started to appear in my heart. Damn it. Why? I can't help it as tears come out of my eyes. Why can't I move while someone like Kaminari can fight against someone who even All Might has problems against and even almost killed him? No way. I am hero, can't start getting associated with villains. Answered Kaminari, his voice resolute. I don't understand. Someone like Kaminari would truly be way better than me as the one for all user. What did All Might see in me? When people like Kaminari exist. General POV. While Izuku was thinking that, Kaminari winces slightly because his reserves drop down to 40%. Eventually, he will lose. All for One is regenerating and creating multiple arms, and using his air cannon quirk even more. If it wasn't for Kaminari using his electricity to wire his brain to work at faster speeds than normal, he is sure that he would have slipped somewhere. Also, he isn't getting closer to take any risks. He can already see that there is a high chance of death, or at best critical injury if he does that. All for One has a huge grin on his face, and suddenly his arm enlarges, and is about to attack Kaminari again when... Smash! Boom! All Might's voice rings out as a punch lands on All for One's head, plummeting him to the ground. You have done well, young Denki. I got it from here. Yells out All Might. Unlike his usual smile, an angry look was on his face as he looked at All for One. Kaminari, on the other hand, still has a heroic smile on his face as he says, All Might Sensei. I will use my quirk to save the people around here. So show that villain what it means to be a hero. BZZZT. As Kaminari says that, he dispels his control over the iron sand, and he also cancels his flight. Starting to fall. His hair stands up as he is surrounded by electricity. He immediately starts running to save people. As he does so, a huge smile is apparent on his face. I can see it now. I can see my future road so clearly. Tonight I couldn't beat All for One. But soon, so soon, I can feel it. I will be able to defeat him. With that, Kaminari charges straight on, feeling that his quirk once again has that limitless potential that it had in the beginning. All for One looks at All Might and chuckles. That kid. His quirk is nice. All Might frowns at that, but then he remembers Kaminari's file. That quirk would be useless to you anyway. He doesn't elaborate anymore as he charges at All for One, exchanging punches with the man. Boom! But All for One is easily crushed as his arm breaks like a twig, and he crashes into a building. The fight with the brat weakened me. Contemplates All for One. His fight with Kaminari left him weakened exponentially. After all, with his old body, regeneration isn't as easy as it once was. Also, the heat from the railgun's friction did make it harder to regenerate. Boom! And as All for One is on the ground and All Might is approaching, Kaminari takes this chance to hit him again. There aren't a lot of people around, as Bakugo had already saved most of them. Kaminari is taking care of the ones who normally wouldn't be sensed and are unconscious. Iron Sand tries to wrap around All for One, and the villain has to use air cannon to escape the encirclement. All Might, Sensei, use your strongest attack. Trust me, yells out Kaminari, and All Might takes this chance to attack. All for One smiles and is about to raise his hand to repel All Might, but suddenly his body slows down. Kaminari smiles at this. He is manipulating the iron sand inside All for One's body. He has been dispersing it with the air, and he took that chance. United States smash! Yells out All Might, completely smashing in All for One's face and knocking him as he crashes to the ground. All Might is still in his muscular form as he raises his fist upward with a heroic smile on his face. He still has enough energy left, plenty of it. All due to Kaminari's intervention. Kaminari smiles at this. It all went according to plan. For him, it is too soon for All Might to retire. He needs the man to take care of the many troubles that will appear in the future. He doesn't exactly trust Midoriya to be enough of a backup. The camera from the TV helicopter flickers from All Might to Kaminari as he is giving his teacher a thumbs up. All Might then smiles and points at the camera and says, "It's your turn next." That causes much speculation amongst the people about what he meant. Was it told to a villain? But they all had one major possibility in mind. Kaminari was coincidentally in the direction he pointed at. This caused a storm to rise in the news and social media. Many news articles had headlines like this. It's your turn next? What did it mean? The mystery you. A student the next All Might? The next symbol of peace is Denki Kaminari the next All Might? The Flash becomes the next symbol of peace. Many news articles like that appeared, and many news sources were asking if All Might had any comment on this. His non-action was taken as confirmation, and immediately people were hungry for more information on Denki Kaminari, the future symbol of peace. That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 3. Peace.